reaction after Operation Sindoor. Remember, Home Minister was the first person to go to Pahalgam.
And Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has left his residence, so I think the CCS meeting is going to get underway. Anshul is getting us this ground report.
On your screens right now is of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh leaving from his residence. Remember, this is the first visuals of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who is leaving from his residence at this point in time after India had carried out attacks inside the territory of Pakistan, and now Rajnath Singh has finally left from his residence. What sources are telling us that first he will go towards the South Block and then eventually join the cabinet meeting, which is already scheduled for today. So the first visuals of Rajnath Singh on your screens right now, as Rajnath Singh has just left from his residence and will be going towards the South Block at this point in time. With video journalist Arpit Seth, this is Anshul Singh for CNN News 18.
Well, what we are seeing now, the LOC shelling is targeting civilians. Now, let's try and go across to our guests and understand how does targeting the LOC and keeping it hot, General Saha, help the Pakistani cause? Targeting civilian shelters, some of the artillery has actually landed. It has actually landed right next to the UN field station in Poonch also. So this is not going to help the Pakistani cause. We got more news coming through. Attacking terror hubs is a strong message. Top intelligence sources are telling CNN News 18 that high-profile strikes like this will force terrorists to operate in survival and hiding mode and reduce their ability to plan large-scale attacks on Bharatiya soil. This is a serious dent for new recruitments. Pakistan-based camps will no longer be seen as safe. New recruits may hesitate to join, so this could be a long-term deterrent. Bharat strikes have also added pressure on the Pakistanis. Pakistan's ISI will control terror proxies or risk further escalation. So there are the following fallouts could happen. Either they continue to harbor these proxies but further deep into Pakistani territory, but we have shown that we can strike them wherever they are. Up to 100 kilometers beyond the international border, we've been able to strike them. Anywhere, anything more westward, if they move, they come within the radar of the Baloch, they come within the radar of some of the other troublemakers who are troubling them on their western side. Siddhant is joining us with more. Siddhant, so clearly Bharat believes that this Operation Sindoor will act as a long-term deterrent because none of their open camps deep in Pakistani territory also now are safe.
Well, that's right, Anand. In fact, top intelligence sources are telling this to Manoj Gupta that these terror groups rely on Hawala networks, NGOs and front companies to fund operations. In fact, after the 2019 Balakot strike, Jaish-e-Mohammed faced temporary funding shortages due to donor panic. In fact, high-profile strikes like this force militants to operate in survival and hiding mode, and they reduce their ability to plan large-scale attacks. This is a serious dent, Anand, for new recruitments, and they feel Pakistan-based camps are no longer seen as safe. New recruits may hesitate to join these groups, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. In fact, India's strikes pressure Pakistan's ISI to control terror proxies or risk further escalation. In fact, after Balakot, Pakistan temporarily detained Jaish-e-Mohammed leaders to placate global scrutiny. Any attack on camps is nothing but an evidence of destroyed camps. It strengthens India's case at forums like FATF, as India is going to perhaps give efforts to get Pakistan again inducted into the grey list of FATF. So there where also it's going to help India. This is making it harder for Pakistan to shield these groups. In fact, Pakistan's military and ISI faces international heat after strikes. Post-strike, surviving militants may adopt guerrilla tactics which are harder to execute and less impactful than coordinated strike. Perhaps India has given evidence of the 9 terror camps which have been targeted, and this is a proof perhaps which India will put forth at the international organizations to expose Pakistan.
Right now, so we've got a calibration ready at various levels to answer why certain actions have been taken. We'll get into the depth of why these 9 targets and where they are actually located and what strategic importance it is for Bharat, from Bharat's interest, to target these 9 locations in Pakistan. But before that, Zaka Jacob with us, Tilak Devashar and also Major Manik Jolly with us, and Sushant Sareen with us. China's reaction, Zaka, that Shailendra Wangu has just put this out, that China has opposed all forms of terrorism. China finds India's military operation early this morning regrettable. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson is what has now been put out of the PRC, FMPRC. The statement very clearly says ongoing situation between India and Pakistan. China finds India's military operation early this morning regrettable. We are concerned about the ongoing situation. India and Pakistan are and will always be each other's neighbors. They are both China's neighbors as well. China opposes all forms of terrorism. We urge both sides to act in the larger interest of peace and stability, remain calm, exercise restraint and refrain from taking actions that may further complicate the situation.
So, look, I think there are two parts to that statement. First, I think it is important that China has put out this statement because it is, as Ashok Malik was saying a moment ago, there's probably only two countries in the world right now which have some degree of leverage or influence in Islamabad. One is the United States, the other happens to be China. Yes, there will be consternation at the fact that China has used the word regrettable, that India's actions are regrettable. But look, those are mere words. It doesn't really matter. The question that we need to ask ourselves is China now going to sort of bring some pressure to bear, some influence to bear on Islamabad and specifically on General Asim Munir not to retaliate and more importantly not to climb the escalation ladder? We have to be very, very calibrated and clear here. India, if it goes into a full frontal war with Pakistan, has much more to lose than Pakistan. The size of our economy is 10 times that of Pakistan. India wanted to convey a calibrated but very definitive signal to Pakistan. It has done so with Operation Sindoor. I think this is what they've achieved today. Simultaneous strikes at 9 places is really uncharted territory as far as India's counterterrorism and counter-insurgency operations are concerned. It has been a joint operation by the Army, Navy and the Air Force. These loitering munitions have been used. But at the same time, India has been very, very clear not to come across as escalatory. The statement said these are non-escalatory in nature, the LOC has not been crossed, and most importantly, no military targets have been hit. This was not mentioned after Balakot, this was not mentioned after Uri. So there's a reason why those sentences have been put in there. I think the signal to General Headquarters Rawalpindi is do not escalate, do not climb the escalation ladder. And Tilak Devashir is here as well. A, what do you make of the China statement? And B, is this all now going to sort of play on Asim Munir's calculus as to what next step he can possibly take, whether he has the elbow room and the option to climb the escalation ladder?
See, before coming to that, I wanted to complete the point I was trying to make earlier that I got interrupted. What targets does Pakistan have? Pakistan will react, but what targets does it have? If it hits civilians, or if it hits military targets, it's going up escalation majorly. Last time in Balakot, if you remember, it reacted by dropping munitions in a forest. It didn't hit anything. Terrorist strikes in India will only prove that Pakistan is a terror-sponsoring state. It will not satisfy the Pakistani public. So it will be a quandary for Pakistan. What exactly will they target? Right? Now, Asim Munir's position is going to become very delicate. Because it was his watch, it was his call to carry out the Pahalgam attacks. And now that India has hit back in this majorly way, first a non-kinetic action of holding the Indus Water Treaty, and now these 9 strikes, he is now on a very weak wicket and on the back foot. What does he do to retrieve his position? Forget Pakistan's position. What does he do to retrieve his position? So these are interesting dynamics that are going to play out in the next 24 to 36 hours. Coming to China's position, if you compare this with what Turkey had said, I think China's position or China's statement has been far more refined. Turkey came out so comprehensively in favor of Pakistan. I think Pakistan is going to be a bit disappointed, except for the use of word regrettable. Pakistan is going to be disappointed with China, I say. They were looking for far greater support, and China coming out far more openly for Pakistan than what it has actually done.
Yes, fair. You make a fair point there, because somewhere when you read after the first line is a little targeted towards India when it uses the word regrettable, like you said, Tilakji. But after that, it is actually telling Pakistan to back off. It is somewhere telling Pakistan, don't climb up the escalator ladder, don't respond right
Exactly.
now, don't do this, we don't need any more anything else that needs to happen. So somewhere there is an acceptance that this response was happened. What has happened is regrettable, but it's happened. It is going to happen. Accept it and then stay put. Now we got more news coming through, exclusive input from government sources. Amitabh Sinha is on the phone with us on what's happened early this morning. Even ahead of the attack on the terrorist camps in Pakistan, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh met the three chiefs. NSA Ajit Doval had also visited the Raksha Mantri at his home to meet him. The meeting lasted for about an hour. Amitabh Sinha with us. Amitabh, पर तो क्या ये मीटिंग जो हुई थी ये प्रधानमंत्री और एनएसए की मीटिंग के बाद हुई थी कल देर शाम?
नहीं नहीं, उसके पहले ये पूरा उसका रनअप है आनंद। उसके बारे में बता दूं, लगातार सेना प्रमुख हर दिन रक्षा मंत्री को ब्रीफ कर रहे थे और रक्षा मंत्री प्रधानमंत्री से बात कर रहे थे। प्रधानमंत्री ने खुद तमाम रक्षा प्रमुखों से बात की थी और मुलाकात भी की थी, आपको याद होगा, डिफेंस सेक्रेटरी से भी। लेकिन कल रात के घटनाक्रम में जो सबसे पहला हुआ, ये अजीत डोवाल का रक्षा मंत्री से मिलना, रणनीति पे चर्चा, सेना कितनी तैयार है, तीनों अंग कितने तैयार हैं। सबसे खास बात जो आनंद ये इस बैठक की, कल रात में जब ऑपरेशन पूरा हो गया, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर, उसके बाद राजनाथ सिंह रक्षा मंत्री ने तीनों सेनाध्यक्षों से फोन पर लंबी बात की कि अगर पाकिस्तान जो कभी मानता नहीं है और कभी सुधरने की कोशिश भी नहीं करता है, अगर वो कुछ पलटकर कुछ कार्रवाई करने की कोशिश करता है, तो भारत की सेना कितनी तैयार है सीमाओं पर और वायु सेना कितनी तैयार है, इसके ऊपर पूरी तरह से उन्होंने रणनीति पर चर्चा की है। और वो अभी घर से निकले हैं, 11 बजे कैबिनेट है, मुझे लगता है सीसीएस भी होगी जिसमें ब्रीफ किया जाएगा। तो मुझे लगता है ये राजनाथ सिंह लगातार हर चीज, हर रणनीति में शामिल थे, ये बात यही दर्शा रही है।
जी धन्यवाद। तो यानी रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह was also kept abreast. He was involved soon after the operation. He's spoken with the three service chiefs for nearly an hour to look at what will be our response or our defense mechanism, our posture and readiness if there is a reprisal or counter that comes in from the Pakistanis. So everybody has been involved. The intelligence has been right in the thick of it with the NSA Ajit Doval spearheading all of this. Sushant Sareen, clearly whole of government far more calibrated. JP Nadda, the BJP president, has also now tweeted. He's saying this is Bharat's message on Pahalgam. If you tease us, we won't let you go. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said those who attack the soul of India will be given severe punishment. India is both capable and determined to uproot terrorism from its roots. We will eradicate the scourge of terrorism. # Operation Sindoor. So everybody has spoken. Everybody has reacted. The Prime Minister perhaps still waiting. There is no comment on his Twitter handle. There's no word from him. Will there be a video message from the PM soon after the press briefing? We'll have to wait and watch. But Sushant Sareen, calibrated whole of government approach, largely driven by the NSA at the helm. He seems to have been spearheading while collaborating and keeping everybody in the loop. A select group of people.
Anand, all of that is okay, but from what your reporter just told us, I am wondering that if after having launched the attack on Pakistan, the Raksha Mantri is calling the defense chiefs to find out what we will do if Pakistan retaliates, then I have some serious questions about defense planning in this country. I mean, this was a pretty no-brainer that something is going to come from their side. So I think there's a gap in what your reporter is reporting. It can't be like that. Because I think the armed forces would have been primed up and would already be primed up about this fact that there will be something coming from the Pakistani side. See, and the rest of it is a lot of rhetoric, right? I think that rhetoric part is for now needs to be laid to rest because now we've entered another zone altogether. We are out of that rhetoric zone of what happens that, when each side is threatening the other side to janta nahi hai main kaun hu. I think we've transcended that and we've entered into a completely different zone where action reaction cycle is now going to be underway. And I think that is what we need to focus on. What do the Pakistanis target? Do they target places in Kashmir? Or do they target cities in rest of India? What are the cities they target in? What are the targets they pick? And if those are gravely provocative, then what is our response going to be? Is it going to be proportionate? Is it going to be more than proportionate? Is it going to be seriously punitive? So I think we are now in that zone. And that is what we should be talking about. Baki, all these statements will continue to be made. There'll be those typical third-rate fellows who will make, carping sounds and raise all kinds of issues and doubts. And there will be those guys who will keep doing chest thumping. And I would imagine that the better thing to do would be to move away from that rhetoric and focus on the substantive part.
Right. Pallavi Ghosh is also with us. Pallavi, what are we expecting? The press briefing has been delayed till 10:30.
Well, yes, that's right. It's now been postponed by half hour, but you can see the arrangements are completely in place. And there's going to be a PPT presentation also right over here. So what we are being told is it is just going to stick facts. There is not going to be any interactive session. That's certainly not been planned as of now. Representatives from the Air Force, the Armed Forces, as well as the MEA, all of them are going to be there over here, and all the details of Operation Sindoor will be given out. But of course, the security concerns will always be factored in. Apart from that, there is a PPT presentation which is going to be put up, is going to give up the details of the operations, the impact of the operations. But the cardinal rule which is being followed over here is to ensure that it's a complete fact check. There are going to be a lot of lies which are now being peddled by the Pakistani government and Pakistan influencers. All of that is being fact checked. What repeatedly we're being told by the government is that we can understand the frustration of the Pakistanis and the Pakistani government, but we really need to stick to facts, and the facts are something which are going to be given out in a short while from now. And very quickly, preparations for this big operations have going on. We've been seeing how there has been a gherawing of Pakistan diplomatically, economically, the government making it very clear that they have the wherewithal, they have the finances, there's nothing to worry about. So it's been seen as a win-win situation. Yesterday, for example, the FTA, which was signed with UK, was a larger messaging to the world that India's stature globally is also something which is being recognized. And I think the kind of words which are coming in from the global leaders and the players, and of course back home over here, minor one or two, all of this endorses the fact that it was not a one which was unprovoked. It was something which was waiting to happen. It was a cry for justice. But more than that, if you look at the brief statement which was issued immediately after Operation Sindoor, it very categorically mentioned that we followed the rules. It was not unprovoked. It was not off the cuff. It was also something which followed the rules, and we have conducted it in a very coordinated, systematic manner.
Right. So Omar Abdullah, the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister, is having a cabinet meeting. So there could be an emergency conversation there. Those are the pictures that are just coming in from Srinagar, where the Jammu and Kashmir cabinet is having a conversation. There are people who have joined also joined online. So this is the Chief Minister having a conversation. Earlier, the LG had a conversation with the entire group of DCs in the districts along the LOC, the regions along the LOC, to move civilians to safety, to evacuate certain residences right on the line of control, because there's some heavy pounding that's happening, artillery firing that's coming in from the Pakistanis, some of those shells landing right next to the UN field station. Now, how and why is this going to help? Manik Jolly, quick word. This kind of firing along the LOC to try and keep it hot, how does it help the Pakistanis, or how does it help any cause, even in terms of retaliation or retribution?
So, it exactly used the right word, retribution and retaliation. This is what they are trying to prove, that you come inside, you strike inside, we will get back to you. And they know that if they start taking on the military, the retaliation from our side would be much stronger. So they go ahead and bombard the villages, the civilians, just to create the chaos. This has been a tactics earlier to, support the infiltration also. It could be a quite possibility that one of the plans that they are making, once you start the artillery, the infiltration starts. They want to maybe a quick reaction from their side would be, let's do a terrorist attack. Right. Let's send in more terrorists. So this could be a mix of everything and anything.
Right. Let's just, with Sushant Sareen and Manik Jolly, let's try and look at some of the 9 targets. The 9 targets, and let's try and break this down for our viewers if we can. And Manik Jolly, help me out here as we will, you turn around and we just talk about this. So, which are the targets? Let's try and understand, viewers, which are the targets, and understand the layout, the geographical layout of each of these targets, and why it is a critical installation that's been now brought down. So let's start with the biggest one, that is the Jaish's target in Bahawalpur. Can we go full frame to this? Can we zoom in on this, please? Yeah. So there you go. So this is the Markaz, Subhanallah. So I'm going to, one second. There you go. Let's get this right. Okay. So this is Markaz, Subhanallah. This is the first one. This is Bahawalpur in Punjab. Now, this is the Jaish's headquarter. This entire acreage, this entire region, this has now spread. The Jaish has actually grown bigger and bigger from about 2 acres to about 14 to 15 acres of occupancy, this one that they have here. Let's try and see the lay of this place. They have now got behind this swimming pool, they have got a gym, they've got a training center. This is what has been targeted. The Jaish's hub, which can host at least 600 people. Yeah. How critical, important, and what kind of messaging is it that this structure now, this entire place now stands destroyed?
Let's say this is the corporate headquarters of terrorism. Once you take that out, the biggest message that goes is we are not just hunting you in jungles, we can get you anywhere. That's the biggest message that goes. So yes, you can build a building again, but it's the messaging that counts, that you are nowhere safe. We will get you wherever you are.
So this is the Jaish HQ. So this one, now this has been completely destroyed. So this is destroyed. So this is one, and this is deep in Punjab. So about 90 kilometers from the Indian border. So 90 kilometers from IB. So this is one of the biggest ones that's been destroyed.
So it is critical to understand that when we are talking of this airstrike, maybe we didn't have to actually go beyond the IB. The missiles that Rafale has, especially the Scalp, right? It has fantastic range for this, low flying. It has a very small cross section. It is beyond, it can jump through the, it's one of those which has inertial navigation.
Correct.
Even if the jammers, they jam the GPS navigation, it can do it on its own, jump through the systems of air defense. And in the terminal phase is when you are about to hit. It picks on the target. It has a special capability, like when it is sent, a picture is given to the missile. This is how it looks. Like this we are seeing here.
Right.
And then it goes directly to it, you can't waver.
You can't waver. So that means the picture is identified, and that's why when they use a term loitering munition, there is a dynamic to it and there is an importance to it. Let's look at the next target that was now look at. So this is Markaz-e-Taiba. So if we look at Markaz-e-Taiba is the headquarters of the Lashkar. So Markaz-Taiba is once again somewhere in the city in Muridke. This is the one that's been targeted. The significance of targeting the LET headquarters. This is not as big as the Jaish, but this is the second terror hydra.
But we have a lot of hisab kitab with LET. Right? So it is great that we took them out.
What is the, so this is the LET headquarters. This is Markaz-Taiba. This is LET headquarters. This is also in Pak, Punjab. So, and Muridke is just about 30 kilometers from Lahore?
More or less,
so,
around that.
So if we have targeted this place which is 30 kilometers from Lahore, that means we can strike at will.
Not only that, we are striking in Punjab.
Deep into Pak.
In Punjab. That is their nerve center, right? They get very touchy if you are touching Punjab. In previous wars we've seen, a speaker was mentioning that earlier also, that if you can get into, now we are not limited to artillery shelling or a normal strike on a post on LC. We are going to deep into territory. This is, let's say, hometown of the royalty of their army.
Right.
So they take it very seriously. And the reason all these terrorist centers are in Punjab is because this is terrorism royalty and ISI royalty living hand in hand.
And so the ISI military installations also not so far away from this place. So let's look at the next target that has been brought down. This is the Sejal Tehra Kala. Now, Sarjal we are given to understand is a Jaish hub. It looks like a small medical center, but this is a huge training camp. They say at least 600 to 700 people are being trained at a given point in time. 600 cadre here. Now, so this is again a big training center, and the location of this place, Sarjal, not very far from the this one. Not very far from the LOC. This area, Sarjal Tehra Kala.
A great thing that gets resolved for everybody in this country asking questions about intelligence and this and that. It is not that we have found all these guys in 5 days or 2 weeks.
Correct.
We have been collating data, we have been gathering information, and it is their technique to hide, it is their tactics to hide in civilian areas because they thought they are safe. No air raid is ever going to come. So we use smartest of the ammunition.
Now, interestingly, it is called a health center or a government hospital. It is supposed to be. Okay, and government hospital on paper, but it is actually a terror camp. So, isse zyada what this is a very Hamas style thing that they are doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very Hamas style, no? Their operations.
Yeah. And although since the Gaza and everything is a very small patch of land compared to what Pakistan is, let's say, but the tactics remain the same. Let's hide within the population. It makes transport very easy, coming and going out. It makes surveillance very complicated. It gives you a sense of security. Nobody is going to attack us. We are surrounded by civilians. All that. But what India did is like, fine, in this entire maze, you are sitting here. We'll send you the best of the ammunition that will hit you in that small house and we'll take you down there only.
Take you down their road. So now let's move to the next one. Now this is again very critical. The next one is Mahmoona Joya. Now Mahmoona Joya brings in another jihadi tanzeem. Now Mahmoona Joya, this region, Mahmoona Joya is actually HM. That is Hizbul. So this is the Hizbul camp. So, and this is Salahuddin.
So you see, this is a little different from that built-up area.
Again 200 to 300 cadre is what we are saying.
The difference between two would be, at one place the indoctrination happens, training happens. You are training their minds, you are making them radical. These are the places where physical trainings would be happening. They are making them run, fire, train on explosives, all that. That is the difference between these two camps. The previous ones, which we saw in the civil area, surrounded by civilians, and this one. So this is definitely a training camp where the physical training happens. There the indoctrination and management happens.
And aap dekhein, iske aaspaas it is quite open. It is in an area which is ghati area, in the sense valley area, lot of khet, khalian and all of that, right, is in the middle of that. So there could be terrain training that is happening, how to survive, lay of the land, physical training that physical.
You see the access routes going there. You see one major road. So these are very perfectly selected places. Once the crops come up, nobody can charge you from the crop. So there's only one access in, one access out. So they do take care of all these things. You find these road charts very interesting when you look at all these things.
Let's just pause here. So we've looked at 3 terror hideouts right now. 4 camps we've seen. 2 belonging to the Jaish. 1 belonging to the headquarters of the Lashkar, 1 of the Hizbul Mujahideen. We will move to the Markaz Ahle Hadith. But before that, we've just got news coming through. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Alit Chauhan, has now briefed. We are given to understand the Raksha Mantri. So we'll try and understand the news. Payal is joining us with a detail. Brief Defence Minister Rajnath Singh at South Block. So let's try and go across to Payal. We'll go back to the remaining terror camps and the bases in a bit. Yes, Payal.
Multiple briefings are taking place. Anand, just a short while ago, we reported how Ajit Doval, the NSA, was constantly briefing Prime Minister Narendra Modi of the developments, and of course Rajnath Singh, who left from his residence a short while ago, has been briefed by the Army Chief and the Chief of Defence Staff, is what we are given to understand. And shortly, all of them will come to the local and mark residence of the Prime Minister, given the fact that the Prime Minister has called for a cabinet meeting. Before that, the CCS will also take place. It will be interesting to see if the service chiefs also join the meeting of the CCS, because they are, of course, special invitees on special occasions as well. So that's the information that is coming in. So multiple rounds of meeting taking place, multiple briefings taking place, because obviously technically a proper briefing of the Prime Minister will have to take place at some stage or the other, and of course those visuals are awaited as the Prime Minister's office gives it out to us. But it's 10 minutes past 10 and you have another 40 minutes to go before all these meetings begin at the residence of the Prime Minister, where I am really at.
Right. Is it confirmed that Vikram Misri ji will also be there in the briefing?
Well, my sources in the Ministry of External Affairs and credible sources have indicated that not just Vikram Misri, but other senior officials, of course, to do with Pakistan-Afghanistan region, will also be there in the briefing. Vikram Misri will in fact be holding the briefing, is what my sources have confirmed, Anand. That's the development that is coming in. So India and first making their own military officers do the briefing. Along with that, India understands that there's a lot of implications. India's geopolitical position is also entirely different right now when the world looks towards India to see what India is going to do, how India is going to strike back at Pakistan.
Right.
And the responses are there for everybody to really see, and support has continued to pour in as far as India's wish to avenge the revenge is concerned. So a briefing by Vikram Misri will be extremely critical to tell us what the geopolitical scenario post the attacks really looks like.
So you are at 7 LKM right outside the Prime Minister's residence come office where the CCS is likely to happen. Let's go across to Arunima, who is joining us from the National Media Center where we are expecting the briefing. Arunima, they should be getting ready in about 16 minutes. The briefing should get underway. How many chairs are there, and have they put out the nameplates? Who is sitting where and who are all going to be there?
The nameplates are still not up, they are still face down, but the ME officials who are present there have given us enough indication that the Foreign Secretary is going to be present at the briefing. There will be a representation from the Indian Air Force. You could see a woman officer also briefing. Of course, the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have collaborated to carry out this precise action against Pakistan-based terror camps. So both of them will be there to brief. And I can tell you that, officials from the Union Home Ministry, from the Ministry of Defence and from the Ministry of External Affairs, all three wings of our security in North Block and South Block are represented in that conference hall. And there is a full-fledged spread out of the international media as well. It is not clear yet whether questions will be allowed. Indications initially was that it will just be a readout, a statement and a PowerPoint presentation. However, we'll have to see if a couple of questions are taken. That I think is the reason why the press conference was also delayed by about half an hour, because final calls are still being taken as to whether this should just be a statement.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your inputs, Arunima. We'll come back to you in just a bit. Let's quickly, even as we are counting down 15 minutes to go for the briefing to get underway, let's try and understand some of the other targets that have been taken out. So far, we've covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets that were taken out. 2 of them hubs of LET, 2 of the Jaish, 1 of the Hizbul Mujahideen. This is Markaz-e-Harith. Now, this is again another region as we are coming up further. We are coming up from down south in Punjab towards the LOC, and we are coming into these regions where the Markaz-e-Harith, again, LET hub. So it's an LET hub. Can you talk, and if you look at the lay, this is again seems to be another 300 to 500 cadre, terror cadre who are usually in this area, this place. What's the significance of this? This is again an LET camp.
So this Anand, this is again typically a training camp, which would be, let's say, managed by a couple of senior leaders.
Right.
This is the proximity to LOC suggests that this becomes a pre-stage to the launching pads. Launching pads are that extreme, like where you just stay for a couple of days and move for infiltration. So this would be their place where people would be getting their weapons, ammunition, getting final training, briefings, all that. So all these different centers which have been taking out, let's say India is targeting the chain of command in terms of operations of terrorists.
Right.
It is not just about corporate headquarters, it's about their training camps, it's about their launching pads, it's about infrastructure also. So these are like training camps.
Again, training camps coming too. We'll also look at one of the other. Now let's move to this place. This is Kotli. So there were 2 targets in Kotli. Kotli had 2 targets. One was Markaz Abbas in Kotli. The other one, now Kotli is further. Now we are getting into the POK region, isn't it? Closer into the POK region. And from here, the LOC is not so far away, not more than 5.
You already reached the terrain which is telling you this is the infiltration place.
Yeah, you see, you have a look at the terrain itself. This is one of the ghatis, hills. So piche wahan pe hill hoga, and on the other side is Bharat, right? Yeah. So this is the occupied territory of the Pakistanis. This is Pakistan-Occupied Kashmir. This is Kotli. This village is actually seen from the last village on the LOC on the Bharat side. Yeah.
So this would be one of those closer ones where they would move ahead into India for infiltration. So all these are successive places where different kind of activities happen.
Right. I'm just going to stay on Kotli and quickly look at the other part. This is Markaz Rahil Shahid. Now, Rahil Shahid, interestingly is not so far away, and this is again a Jaish training camp.
This is a pure launch pad kind of a situation.
This is a launch pad.
Yeah.
So if you look at the terrain itself, so it showcases that this area looks like this looks like a launch pad by default.
Yeah.
This Rahil Shahi.
So you see that track going down into the Nala.
Yeah.
That track going on. So so you can't climb cliffs. You have to follow paths. So these places become a default launching pads or launching stations. So it's very good that we are taking them out also, because large cadres stay here. They get trained here. They understand terrain. They look at our deployment. It's good that we are destroying them also.
Right. Now the last one is Muzaffarabad. We'll go across to the Muzaffarabad bit very quickly. But first, news coming through. We'll take you through the last. The Muzaffarabad is very interesting. Right opposite the Red Fort, within 3 kilometers of each other, one Jaish camp and one Lashkar camp. Both we'll show which have been targeted. Muzaffarabad is the capital of Pak-occupied Jammu-Kashmir. Let's try and look at news coming through. Home Minister Amit Shah has spoken to DG BSF, the LG of Jammu and Kashmir, Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, and has given instructions to take people to safe places in the border areas. The Home Minister has also instructed them to keep strong vigil on the border areas. Arunima now joining us with more details. Arunima, clearly the LG has already had a chat with the DCs. The Chief Minister has had a cabinet meeting and they are prepared for all emergencies. Srinagar Airport, Jammu Airport have been shut. But the Home Minister also on top of things with respect to safety of people, and also to try and prevent any incident that could have been planned by Pakistan or its proxies on our soil.
See, especially in the Rajouri-Poonch sector, the ceasefire violation that is happening, the constant shelling that is happening from Pakistan side is leading to loss of life. The civilian casualties there are mounting, and this has to be avoided, and therefore instructions have been given out by the Home Minister that all houses or all villages which are in line of fire should be evacuated, and the civilian population must be moved to the nearest bunkers. There are community bunkers there. Already there was a mock drill that was planned for today. So the civil defense volunteers and the civilians there are also almost ready. The livestock of these villagers are also to be moved out. That's an instruction that has been given by the Home Minister. He is in constant touch with Director General of the Border Security Force, Daljit Chaudhary, because not only is the Rajouri-Poonch sector hot, but eyes are also to be kept on Jammu, Punjab, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Since morning we have been checking and there's been nothing untoward along the international border. Jammu all the way up to Rajasthan, so far nothing untoward has been reported, but Home Minister is in direct communication with DG BSF, taking constant update to see whether this area is also peaceful or not. Home Secretary meanwhile has just arrived at North Block, and he's been also instructed to regularly monitor the situation as it's unfold. Tonight will be critical as far as the civilian population along the line of control are concerned.
Right, and shortly more news coming through. Thanks, Arunima. Shortly, MEA and Forces joint briefing is going to happen. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh will be addressing the media. This is very, very big that you will have 2 women officers who will be addressing the briefing and addressing the media, conducting the briefing on Operation Sindoor. And we have the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. So a whole of government approach, not just the military or the armed forces aspect. The female officers or women officers, women personnel there to conduct the briefing. We also have the diplomatic might there of Bharat with the Foreign Secretary sitting there and also presiding over this briefing. Vikram Misri to be there. We'll go across to Akash. Akash joining us with more details. Yes, Akash.
So, Anand, we have seen the code name of this.
Thank you.
I think there was just some basic instruction asking everybody to settle down at the NMC, the National Media Center. We cut to it. These are pictures coming in via the news feed. But yes, Akash, go ahead, please. Akash, so perhaps 2 female officers, women officers who are now going to be doing the briefing.
Also, Anand, very important update is that we are learning that this time around forces are going to provide and in fact present important evidence of the sort of destruction that has happened on the other side, the sort of target in fact that they had engaged with, and in fact the sort of destruction
Because last time around, in fact, we have seen in the operations that how, several parties from within the country were asking for the evidences. But now I'm learning, and Ministry of Defense sources are telling me that this time around, not only they will be briefing about the operation that was conducted midnight, but also will be presenting several sort of evidences of the kind of destruction that these attacks, have carried out in Pakistan.
Well, thank you. And I'm just going to check. This is more big news. This is really big news that's coming through. Big statement from the Pakistan Defense Minister, where the Pakistan Defense Minister has apparently made a major claim. He has come out and said, and we'll try and get confirmation on that, that the Pak army and Pak military will refrain from any further ops if Bharat decides to halt its operations. So we will let it lie here. We will not escalate further. A big statement coming in that the Pak military will refrain from further ops if Bharat halts its operations. Akash now joins us with more. Akash, so Khwaja Asif, from going around to saying that either we exist or nobody exists just less than 24 hours ago, is now saying that the Pak military will refrain if Bharat halts operations. That means clearly international pressure is working.
Yes, definitely. It seems like, there is some sort of pressure that is making the defense minister say this. But then, Anand, we know about, the intentions of Pakistan. We have seen in the past that how, back in 1999, in fact, in 2000, in fact, they dished the sort of promises that they made. And in fact, this time around, while this is sending a larger message that they want India to, halt the operations so that, condition cannot get escalate further. But this time around, if at all we can trust them, this is the big question, Anand.
Well, we got Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma also joining us at this point. Major Manik Jolly with us. Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, Jai Hind, good morning. Big move by Bharat, 9 targets. We've seen 7 of them, the last 2 in Muzaffarabad, where a Jaish and a Lashkar training areas not so far away from the Red Fort area of Muzaffarabad have also been now neutralized, totally destroyed. The Bahawalpur Jaish headquarters totally reduced to rubble. And now Pakistan is turning around and saying that we will not take any further action if India promises to halt all military operations. So is this a smokescreen? Can we take the Pakistanis to their word? Or is this the result of huge international pressure on Pakistan to de-escalate?
No, thank you for inviting me. Firstly, it's a day for all of us to be proud of. The operation was tri-services. It was well coordinated and it was technological in nature, where, in addition to missiles and aircrafts and the artillery guns, there were also loitering ammunition and drones used. So, it is something to be proud of, and, we should look forward to better synergy being created here. Now, having said that, what would the Pakistanis do hereafter? You see, what happens to the 1,000-year war, which they've been talking of from 1965 when Bhutto spoke in United Nations, or the war by 1,000 cuts? Despite everything, despite all good gestures that we have made in so many years, the Prime Minister Vajpayee's visit and Prime Minister Modi's visit and, Agra and you name it, they have always turned back at the last moment and, hit us where, in the regular time. So to say that you believe in, it is important for us to be prepared. If they back out, well, it is not expected of them, because Pakistan military is, or especially the army, is the custodian of national security, and it's a national security state. They have to prove their worth to their people, and the people themselves are nationalized in big fervor because of what's happening here. I think there would be pressure on Pakistan army to respond in some manner or the other. Hence, at this juncture, I would not take what Khwaja Asif has said. I would take it what he says with a pinch of salt, or maybe more than that, and be prepared for a response, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night, and work to that end.
But the briefing is about to start in about 5-10 minutes now. 10:35 a.m. is what we are given to understand. But this is a big statement coming in from the Pak Defense Minister. Is this the conversation with the American NSA or Marco Rubio's impact? Is it because they have not got huge endorsement from the Chinese? Is it the Pakistanis saying that only Turkey is the only one that has come out and given them some support, but there is no military support for them? how should Bharat look at the defense minister's statement? Should we take it at face value, or should we be at the ready to say, ek harkat karoge? Because if they don't want to take military action, why is the LOC so hot, sir?
So the LOC is hot. The IB is not hot. Unlike what happened in North Prakram, we have not mobilized. So our formations located in hinterland, in Hyderabad or in Sagar or Madhya Pradesh, they have not moved up. There is a clear indication. This is not what happened in brass tacks. This is not what happened in Parakram. We have not mobilized our forces which are tailored for offensives across into Pakistan. A clear message has been given out that we do not want escalation of a full-fledged war. So, taking that message forward, and it is conveyed across to the global people saying that Indian armed forces are not mobilized for war. The leaves have not been cancelled. Courses are continuing. So there is the overall ambit of situation. It is clear that we have not escalated to a war, and we have already hit only what we wanted to hit, which are terrorist targets. Now, if the Pakistanis have to respond, there are no terrorist targets in India. They have to hit actually some kind of either the civilian establishments, or hit an airport, or hit a cantonment, or hit a infrastructure.
Right.
Now, once you hit an infrastructure thing, it will escalate beyond control, because they will be, Pakistan is so vulnerable to infrastructure being hit by us. And if they're trying to hit military installations, then obviously there will be a response to military installation.
No,
so there is no quid pro quo target available to Pakistanis to hit in India in a manner which we have targeted.
No,
however,
but they don't have anything which allows them to go off ramp. They don't have anything to go back and tell their people, or are they going to just go back on their bluster that हमने ये brigade headquarter गिरा दिया, हमने ये 2 विमान गिरा दिए, हमने ये कर दिया, 15 location पे missile भेज दी. All these claims, false flag claims that they are making, will they then use that? Because the defense minister coming out and saying that we are willing to refrain if Bharat halts operations. Bharat has very clearly said that we targeted, this is what, this far and no further as far as we are concerned. This is not escalatory in nature. This is the lowest denomination of hitting that we are doing. And that to only terror camps. We have not targeted any civilian establishment. We have not targeted any military installation.
So good. If we believe in what they are saying, Pakistan Army survives on anti-Indianism and on Jammu and Kashmir over the last 8 decades. Now to say that they would backtrack, there is a possibility, because we've been hearing about the problems within Pakistan Army against its chief. Maybe there is some truth into that matter, that he doesn't have the following that he claims to have it. And so there can be manifold reasons. And I would add on to what you said, Mark Rubio's called, or what President Trump made a statement in the morning saying it's a shame. All these things you add together, maybe the caution has been applied on Pakistan, because they know it will be, it will be responded back. Any escalation, then now hereafter they would be responsible. Having said that, they are already bragging about having downed 5 aircraft, or all those issues that they are raising. Let's have a clarification on what has been the total effect of what has been carried out yesterday night, and then discuss. I would still feel, that we need to be cautious of what Pakistanis will respond. They responded last year to even Iran, which is their Thinkin country. They responded by using loitering ammunition and missiles against Iran in a day after Iran had hit them. So, to say that you take them at a face value, no, sir, I would avoid taking them on face value.
Jay, I think he's spoken, and he said this to foreign media. We're given to understand he said it to Bloomberg. I'm just going to try and play out the audio on my phone and see if we can catch it.
As far as the attacks of Indian Air Force are concerned, on 7 different locations, 2 in independent Kashmir, 1 in Muzaffarabad, other Kotli, and 5 other locations in Pakistan.
The question right now that's hanging here is, how far is Pakistan willing to go here?
It all depends upon that. This has been initiated by India. If India is ready to back down, They have taken the initiative. We have just responded. We have been saying all along in last fortnight that we'll never initiate anything hostile towards India. But if we are attacked, we'll respond. If India backs down, we will definitely wrap up these things, But as long we are under attack, under fire, we have to respond. We have to defend ourselves.
So that's what he has said, that if India... So Akash with us, Payal is with us, Arunima is with us. Quickly, just going across to our reporters. Major Manik Jolly, quickly, how would you want to respond to what Khwaja Asif has said? If India backs down, we will wrap up. What is it for them to wrap up? And Bharat has already done what it needs to do. We are not going to do anything else unless Pakistan does anything now.
I think the 2 points...
That's what the armed forces have said.
Yeah, there are 2 points that are very critical actually, and I almost agree 100% to what General Sharma said. Firstly, we are putting action where our words are. If we had moved our strike formations, if we had escalated the deployment on borders, if we had cancelled leave, we had done all those. If we had given all those signals, that means we are ready for war. Then our saying this is just a measured, this is just a limited offensive, won't have made any sense. So we are showing them we are cool and pretty. We are sitting here, we are doing our stuff.
Right.
And secondly, we should not trust them.
Going across live to the pictures where we see Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Vikram Misri ready for the briefing.
नमस्कार। इस ब्रीफिंग में शामिल होने के लिए आप सभी का धन्यवाद। जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं, 22 अप्रैल 2025 को लश्कर-ए-तैयबा से संबंधित पाकिस्तानी और पाकिस्तान प्रशिक्षित आतंकवादियों ने भारत में जम्मू और कश्मीर के पहलगाम में भारतीय पर्यटकों पर बर्बरतापूर्ण हमला किया। 25 भारतीयों और एक नेपाली नागरिक को कायरतापूर्ण मौत के घाट उतार दिया गया। मुंबई के 26 नवंबर 2008 के हमलों के बाद यह भारत में हुई किसी आतंकवादी हमले में मारे गए आम नागरिकों की संख्या की दृष्टि से सबसे गंभीर घटना है। पहलगाम का हमला अत्यधिक बर्बरतापूर्ण था, जिसमें वहां मौजूद लोगों को करीब से और उनके परिवारों के सामने सिर पर गोली मारी गई। हत्या के इस तरीके से परिवार के सदस्यों को जानबूझकर आघात पहुंचाया गया। साथ ही उन्हें यह नसीहत भी दी गई कि वे वापस जाकर इस संदेश को पहुंचा दें। यह हमला स्पष्ट रूप से जम्मू और कश्मीर में बहाल हो रही सामान्य स्थिति को बाधित करने के उद्देश्य से किया गया था। चूंकि पर्यटन फिर से अर्थव्यवस्था का मुख्य आधार बन रहा था, इस हमले का मुख्य उद्देश्य इसे प्रतिकूल रूप से प्रभावित करना था। पिछले वर्ष आप सभी जानते हैं 2.25 करोड़ से अधिक पर्यटक कश्मीर आए थे। इस हमले का मुख्य उद्देश्य इसलिए संभवतः यह था कि इस संघ राज्य क्षेत्र में विकास और प्रगति को नुकसान पहुंचाकर इसे पिछड़ा बनाए रखा जाए और पाकिस्तान से लगातार होने वाले सीमा पार आतंकवाद के लिए उपजाऊ जमीन बनाने में सहायता की जाए। हमले का यह तरीका जम्मू और कश्मीर और शेष राष्ट्र दोनों में सांप्रदायिक दंगे भड़काने के उद्देश्य से भी प्रेरित था। इसका श्रेय सरकार और भारत के सभी नागरिकों को दिया जाना चाहिए कि इन प्रयासों को विफल कर दिया गया। एक समूह ने खुद को रेजिस्टेंस फ्रंट टीआरएफ कहते हुए इस हमले की जिम्मेदारी ली है। यह समूह संयुक्त राष्ट्र द्वारा प्रतिबंधित पाकिस्तानी आतंकवादी समूह लश्कर-ए-तैयबा से जुड़ा हुआ है। यह उल्लेखनीय है कि भारत ने मई और नवंबर 2024 में संयुक्त राष्ट्र की 1267 कमेटी की सैंक्शंस मॉनिटरिंग टीम को अर्धवार्षिक रिपोर्ट प्रस्तुत की थी, जिसमें टीआरएफ के बारे में साफ इनपुट दिए गए थे। इससे पाकिस्तान स्थित आतंकवादी समूहों के लिए कवर के रूप में टीआरएफ की भूमिका सामने आई थी। इससे पहले भी दिसंबर 2023 में भारत ने इस टीम को लश्कर-ए-तैयबा और जैश-ए-मोहम्मद के बारे में सूचित किया था, जो टीआरएफ जैसे छोटे आतंकवादी समूहों के माध्यम से अपनी गतिविधियों को संचालित कर रहे हैं। इस संबंध में 25 अप्रैल को यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल प्रेस वक्तव्य में टीआरएफ के संदर्भ को हटाने के लिए पाकिस्तान के दबाव पर भी ध्यान दिया जाना चाहिए। पहलगाम आतंकवादी हमले की जांच से पाकिस्तान के साथ आतंकवादियों के संपर्क उजागर हुए हैं। रेजिस्टेंस फ्रंट द्वारा किए गए दावे और लश्कर-ए-तैयबा से ज्ञात सोशल मीडिया हैंडल द्वारा इसको रीपोस्ट किया जाना इसकी पुष्टि करता है। चश्मदीद गवाहों और विभिन्न जांच एजेंसियों को उपलब्ध अन्य सूचनाओं के आधार पर हमलावरों की पहचान भी हुई है। हमारी इंटेलिजेंस ने इस टीम के योजनाकारों और उनके समर्थकों की जानकारी जुटाई है। इस हमले की रूपरेखा भारत में सीमा पार आतंकवाद को अंजाम देने के पाकिस्तान के लंबे ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड से भी जुड़ी हुई है, जिसके लिखित और स्पष्ट दस्तावेज उपलब्ध हैं। पाकिस्तान दुनिया भर में आतंकवादियों के लिए एक शरण स्थल के रूप में पहचान बना चुका है। यहां अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर प्रतिबंधित आतंकवादी सजा पाने से बचे रहते हैं। इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान ने इस मुद्दे पर विश्व और फाइनेंशियल एक्शन टास्क फोर्स जैसे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंचों को जानबूझकर गुमराह करने के लिए भी जाना जाता है। साजिद मीर का मामला, जिसमें इस आतंकवादी को पाकिस्तान ने मृत घोषित कर दिया था और फिर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय दबाव के परिणाम स्वरूप वो जीवित पाया गया, इसका सबसे स्पष्ट उदाहरण है। यह स्वाभाविक है कि पहलगाम में हुए इस हमले से जम्मू और कश्मीर के साथ साथ भारत के अन्य भागों में भी आक्रोश देखा गया। हमलों के बाद भारत सरकार ने स्वाभाविक रूप से पाकिस्तान के साथ संबंधों को लेकर कुछ कदम उठाए। आप सभी उन निर्णयों से अवगत हैं जिसकी घोषणा 23 अप्रैल को की गई थी। तथापि यह आवश्यक समझा गया कि 22 अप्रैल के हमले के अपराधियों और उनके योजनाकारों को न्याय के कटघरे में लाया जाए। हमलों के एक पखवाड़े के बाद भी पाकिस्तान द्वारा अपने क्षेत्र या अपने नियंत्रण वाले क्षेत्रों में आतंकवादियों की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के विरुद्ध कार्यवाही करने के लिए कोई स्पष्ट कदम नहीं उठाया गया है। उल्टे वो इनकार करने और आरोप लगाने में ही लिप्त रहा है। पाकिस्तान आधारित आतंकवादी मॉड्यूल्स पर हमारी खुफिया निगरानी ने संकेत दिया है कि भारत के विरुद्ध आगे भी हमले हो सकते हैं, अतः इनको रोकना और इनसे निपटना दोनों को बेहद आवश्यक समझा गया। आज सुबह, जैसा कि आपको ज्ञात होगा, भारत ने इस तरह के सीमा पार हमलों का जवाब देने और उन्हें रोकने तथा उनका प्रतिरोध करने के अपने अधिकार का प्रयोग किया है। यह कार्यवाही नपीतुली, नॉन एस्केलेटरी, आनुपातिक और जिम्मेदारीपूर्ण है। यह आतंकवाद की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को समाप्त करने और भारत में भेजे जाने वाले संभावित आतंकवादियों को अक्षम बनाने पर केंद्रित है। आपको यह भी स्मरण होगा कि 25 अप्रैल 2025 को संयुक्त राष्ट्र सुरक्षा परिषद ने पहलगाम आतंकवादी हमले पर एक प्रेस वक्तव्य जारी किया था, जिसमें आतंकवाद के इस निंदनीय कार्य के अपराधियों, आयोजकों, फाइनेंसरों और प्रायोजकों को जवाबदेह ठहराने और उन्हें न्याय के दायरे में लाने की आवश्यकता पर जोर दिया गया था। भारत की आज की इस कार्रवाई को इसी संदर्भ में देखा जाना चाहिए। Good morning. Thank you all for joining this briefing. As you are all aware, on April 22, 2025, Pakistani and Pakistan-trained terrorists belonging to the Lashkar-e-Taiba carried out a savage attack on Indian tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir in India. They murdered 26 people, including one national of Nepal, causing the largest number of civilian casualties in a terrorist attack in India since the 26 November 2008 attacks in Mumbai. The attack in Pahalgam was marked by extreme barbarity, with the victims mostly killed with headshots from close range and in front of their families. Family members were deliberately traumatized through the manner of the killing, accompanied by the exhortation that they should take back the message. The attack was clearly driven by the objective of undermining the normalcy returning to Jammu and Kashmir. In particular, it was designed to impact the mainstay of the economy, tourism, with a record 23 million tourists visiting the valley last year. The calculation, presumably, was that harming growth and development in the Union territory would help keep it backward and create fertile ground for continued cross-border terrorism from Pakistan. The manner of the attack was also driven by an objective of provoking communal discord, both in Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of the nation. It is to the credit of the government and the people of India that these designs were foiled. A group calling itself the Resistance Front has claimed responsibility for the attack. This group is a front for the UN-proscribed Pakistani terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba. It is notable that India had given inputs about the TRF in the half-yearly report to the monitoring team of the UN's 1267 Sanctions Committee in May and November 2024, bringing out its role as a cover for Pakistan-based terrorist groups. Earlier too, in December 2023, India had informed the monitoring team about Lashkar and Jaish-e-Mohammed operating through small terror groups such as the TRF. Pakistan's pressure to remove references to TRF in the April 25 UN Security Council press statement is notable in this regard. Investigations into the Pahalgam terror attack have brought out the communication notes of terrorists in and to Pakistan. The claims made by the Resistance Front and their reposting by known social media handles of the Lashkar-e-Taiba speak for themselves. Identification of the attackers based on eyewitness accounts as well as other information available to law enforcement agencies has also progressed. Our intelligence has developed an accurate picture of the planners and backers of this team. The features of this attack also tie in with Pakistan's long track record of perpetrating cross-border terror in India, which is well documented and beyond question. Pakistan also has a well-deserved reputation as a haven for terrorists from around the world, with internationally proscribed terrorists enjoying impunity there. In addition, Pakistan has been known to willfully mislead the world and international forums such as the Financial Action Task Force on this issue. The Sajid Mir case, in which this terrorist was declared dead and then, in response to international pressure, brought back to life, found alive and arrested, is the most glaring example. The latest attack in Pahalgam has understandably generated deep anger in Jammu and Kashmir and in other parts of India. Following the attacks, the government of India naturally responded with a set of initial measures relating to our engagement with Pakistan. You're all aware of the decisions that were announced on the 23rd of April. However, it was deemed essential that the perpetrators and planners of the 22nd April attack be brought to justice. Despite a fortnight having passed since the attacks, there has been no demonstrable step from Pakistan to take action against the terrorist infrastructure on its territory or on territory under its control. Instead, all it has indulged in are denials and allegations. Our intelligence monitoring of Pakistan-based terrorist modules indicated that further attacks against India were impending. There was thus a compulsion both to deter and to preempt. Earlier this morning, as you would be aware, India exercised its right to respond and preempt as well as deter more such cross-border attacks. These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate, and responsible. They focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure and disabling terrorists likely to be sent across to India. You would also recall that the Security Council on 25th April 2025 had issued a press statement on the Pahalgam terror attack, underlining, and I quote, the need to hold perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of this reprehensible act of terrorism accountable and bring them to justice, unquote. India's latest actions should be seen in this context. Joining me for this briefing on our actions earlier this morning are Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh. I will request them to share some details regarding Operation Sindoor with all of you.
सुप्रभात देवियों और सज्जनों, मैं कर्नल सोफिया कुरैशी और मेरे साथ विंग कमांडर व्योमिका सिंह आज आपको 6 से 7 मई 2025 की रात 1:05 से 1:30 बजे के बीच भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों द्वारा अंजाम दिए गए ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के बारे में जानकारी देंगे। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर 22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम में हुए विभत्स आतंकवादी हमले के शिकार मासूम नागरिकों व उनके परिवारों को न्याय देने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया था। इस कार्रवाई में 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स को टारगेट किया गया और पूरी तरह से इसे बर्बाद किया गया। पाकिस्तान में पिछले 3 दशकों से टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हो रहा है। इसमें रिक्रूटमेंट, इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन सेंटर्स, ट्रेनिंग एरियाज व लॉन्च पैड शामिल थे, जो पाकिस्तान और पाक अधिकृत जम्मू कश्मीर POJK दोनों में फैले हैं।
Operation Sindoor was launched by Indian Armed Forces to deliver justice to the victims of Pahalgam terror attack and their families. 9 terrorist camps were targeted and successfully destroyed. Over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has systematically built terror infrastructure. It is a complex web of recruitment and indoctrination centers, training areas for initial and refresher courses, and launch pads for handlers. These camps are located both in Pakistan as well as Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir areas. Some of the well-known training camps are located, as you can see on the screen. They are distributed from Savai Nala in the north, counting to approximately 21, ending at Bhagalpur to the south.
इन लक्ष्यों का चयन विश्वसनीय इंटेलिजेंस सूचनाओं के आधार पर हुआ ताकि आतंक गतिविधियों की रीढ़ तोड़ी जा सके और यह खास ध्यान दिया गया कि निर्दोष नागरिकों और सिविलियन इंस्टॉलेशन को नुकसान न पहुंचे.
The selection of these targets for Operation Sindoor was based on credible intelligence inputs and role of these facilities in perpetrating the terror activities. The locations were so selected to avoid damage to civilian infrastructures and loss of any civilian lives. This was done with due diligence, and the camps selected for targeting and their engagement will now be shown to you one by one.
POJK के टारगेट मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगी. सबसे पहले सवाई नाला कैंप मुजफ्फराबाद, जो कि POJK के लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल से 30 किलोमीटर दूर है. यह एक लश्कर-ए-तौयबा का ट्रेनिंग सेंटर था. 20 अक्टूबर 2024 सोनमर्ग, 24 अक्टूबर 24 गुलमर्ग, 22 अप्रैल 2025 पहलगाम, इन हमलों के आतंकियों ने यहीं से प्रशिक्षण लिया था. सैयदना बिलाल कैंप मुजफ्फराबाद, यह एक जैश-ए-मोहम्मद का स्टेजिंग एरिया है. यह हथियार, विस्फोटक और जंगल सर्वाइवल ट्रेनिंग का केंद्र भी था. गुलपुर कैंप कोटली, यह LOC से 30 किलोमीटर दूर था. लश्कर-ए-तौयबा का बेस था जो रजौरी, पुंछ में सक्रिय था. 20 अप्रैल 2023 को पुंछ में और 9 जून 2024 को तीर्थ यात्रियों के बस हमले में यहीं से आतंकी को ट्रेन किया गया था. बरनाला कैंप बिंबर, ये LOC से 9 किलोमीटर दूर है. यहाँ पर हथियार हैंडलिंग, IED व जंगल सर्वाइवल का प्रशिक्षण केंद्र था. अब्बास कैंप कोटली, यह LOC से 13 किलोमीटर दूर है. लश्कर-ए-तौयबा का फिदाइन यहाँ तैयार होता था. इसकी कैपेसिटी 15 टेररिस्ट को ट्रेन करने की थी. अब मैं पाकिस्तान के अंदर के टारगेट से अवगत कराना चाहूंगी. पहला, सर्जल कैंप सियालकोट, यह अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा से 6 किलोमीटर की दूरी पर है, सांबा कठुआ के सामने. मार्च 2025 में जम्मू एंड कश्मीर पुलिस के 4 जवानों को की जो हत्या की गई थी, उन आतंकवादियों को इसी जगह पर ट्रेन किया गया था. दूसरा, महमूना जाया कैंप सियालकोट, यह 18 से 12 किलोमीटर IB से दूर था. हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन का बहुत बड़ा कैंप था. यह कठुआ जम्मू क्षेत्र में आतंक फैलाने का नियंत्रण केंद्र था. पठानकोट एयरफोर्स बेस पर किया गया हमला भी इसी कैंप से प्लान और डायरेक्ट किया गया था. मरकज ताइबा मुरीद के, यह IB से 18 से 25 किलोमीटर दूरी पर है. 2008 के मुंबई हमले के आतंकी भी यहीं से प्रशिक्षित हुए थे. अजमल कसब व डेविड हेडली भी यहां ट्रेन हुए थे.
आगे दूसरा है. Target 10 हुआ, enclosure same ही है. 7 it has hit the target.
हाँ हाँ. पीछे आ गया सर. Impact.
मरकज सुभान अल्लाह भावलपुर ये इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्री से 100 किलोमीटर दूर है. जैश-ए-मोहम्मद का मुख्यालय था. यहाँ पर रिक्रूटमेंट, ट्रेनिंग व इंडॉक्ट्रिनेशन का केंद्र भी था. शीर्ष आतंकी अक्सर यहाँ आते थे. मैं आप सबको बताना चाहती हूँ कि किसी भी सैन्य ठिकाने का निशाना नहीं बनाया गया और अभी तक किसी तरह की नागरिक क्षति की रिपोर्ट नहीं है. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद.
The strike on the terror camps were undertaken through precision capability, as shown to you. A niche technology weapons with careful selection of warheads was ensured so that there will be no collateral damage. The point of impact in each of the target was a specific building or a group of buildings. All the targets were neutralized with clinical efficiency, and the results reiterate the professionalism of the Indian Armed Forces in the planning and execution of their operations. No military establishments were targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response. However, it must be said that the Indian Armed Forces are fully prepared to respond to Pakistani misadventures, if any, that will escalate the situation. Jai Hind, and thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends in the media, I ask your indulgence today in view of the fact that this is still an evolving situation. We will therefore not be able to take questions and answers today, but we will come back for more updates and more briefings shortly. Thank you all very much for joining us this morning. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Viewers, that was a momentous press briefing by Vikram Misri, who is India's Foreign Secretary and Wing Commander Vyomika, and Colonel Qureshi. Both of them taking us through in minute detail the terror strikes that we have been bled by but responded to by India in a manner, viewers, that Pakistan will not forget. Remember, the entire press conference was set up with a video presentation of the terror strikes that have taken place on Indian soil going back to Parliament attack, viewers, in 2001. And we are talking about almost 24 years ago. Almost a generation of Indians has come and gone since that attack. That is how we have been bled by Pakistan over the years. And the stage was set using this video documentary, which was not more than 4 minutes, culminating in Operation Sindoor, which was, and we'll bring those pictures back to you, viewers, which was annotated in absolute detail with video evidence, lest anyone gets up and says nothing was hit on Pakistan soil or on POK. The Indian government has made it extremely clear today, very, very clear, that this was a non-escalatory strike, that this was a strike that was conducted against terror targets in Pakistan as well as in POK, which is Pakistan-Occupied Kashmir, Indian soil, viewers. And that this was done across several of these terror bases in what Vikram Misri described is terror haven Pakistan. I want to bring in Akash, Pallavi and Payal. You heard the press conference. We're going to show you the clips of the strikes. This is viewers, real-time information that was being conveyed to Prime Minister Modi, the NSA and others who were watching this entire operation from the war room. They were watching in minute detail with minute-to-minute updates that were coming in, perhaps even second-to-second, real-time data that was being fed into the war room in the early hours of the morning. This is historic. Akash, run us through the targets first, very quickly. The reason why they were chosen, of course, the wing commander and the colonel explained, but it would be helpful if you were to put it in perspective. This is very, very important today.
Right. Rahul, 2-3 things before coming to targets, where I want to mention that how this operation was conducted with full professionalism and how these officers have, in fact, proven that this was indeed a successful operation. It started at around 1:05 a.m. and in fact, was ended at around 1:30. Starting from choosing the targets, calculating the sort of weapon and, the sort of intensity that would help, and also executing it. It was a perfect professionalism by the Indian Armed Forces. And as far as these warheads are concerned, so we have been told, in fact, the officers mentioned it categorically, that how these warheads were in fact decided on the basis of target, where in case you want to target one building, two building or a group of buildings together, it was ensured that no military establishment or no civilian building, is impacted. And in fact, we have seen reports where Pakistan has been alleging that, civilian population is impacted. The Indian Army and Indian Air Force are categorically saying that they have got views, they had intelligence, and on that basis only, these targets were hit. We have seen that how in 2023, Rahul, several attacks have happened in south of Pir Panjal, and Colonel Sophia Qureshi somewhere stressed that how several, groups, in fact, who were very much involved in these attacks, were getting training for, in these camps, which were the target today. In fact, it has been categorically mentioned that it was on the basis of the sort of intelligence that the agencies had, and in fact, these targets were deliberated upon before, carrying out this sort of operation. As far as these targets are concerned, so distant target, in fact, is going to 100 kilometers from the international border. Yes. We have been told. Two distant target, first one, of course, close to 100 kilometers, and second one close to 70 kilometers, was in fact, decided and chosen, on the basis of specific intelligence. And Indian Air Force somewhere, got engaged with this particular target.
Akash, just hold your thoughts, because what we're seeing on our screens is the replay of those visuals, and you can see not only have the airplanes been tracked, but also the targets that have been eliminated are very well lit up on your screens, viewers. This is evidence which is absolutely foolproof of not only the Indian military striking the targets. Pallavi was there at this particular convention center. Not only have we targeted, Pallavi, these targets with precision, but we've also ensured that there is no collateral damage. This is a momentous moment in India's military history.
Yes, in fact,
Go ahead.
Absolutely, and I think that's a very, very important point we all of us need to highlight, because that's the point which India is consistently raising, and all of those who were speaking and addressing that brief press statement talked about precision and talked about there was no misadventure from our side, and how it was well documented, how it was well scripted, well organized, and as of now, no casualty, civilian casualty has been reported. But if you look at the kind of PPT presentation that we're putting out, Rahul, of all the targets that Indian side made, it very clearly also showed that they were far away from where the civilian installations were. I think this point is something which India is repeatedly highlighting to the world and to Pakistan, that we are not like Pakistan. We are a responsible country, we are a vibrant democracy, but we had to retaliate because enough was enough. In fact, this press interaction did begin with a sequence of multiple terror attacks which were done by Pakistan, whether it was a parliament attack, attack 26/11, about our Faujis, our Jawans, our innocent people, and finally those very tragic pictures of the 26 tourists who were targeted at Pahalgam was one of the last slides which were shown. It was then the background was created and the background was given as to why we were actually left with no choice but to go ahead with Operation Sindoor. And Operation Sindoor was not a knee-jerk reaction. There were days of planning, there was days of before the final execution took place, and the kind of visuals which were put out was very clearly giving us the details of how many kilometers away from the border, how many kilometers away actually, or how the concentration really was on the terror hideouts.
So that's quickly go across
that's one very big point which came across.
Yes, just let me just go across to Payal, because there is, of course, a important cabinet meet that is now taking place at 7 LKM. Pallavi, just give me a few seconds. Let's get the update from Payal on that, and I also want to bring in Arunima. Payal, big meeting now.
Well, absolutely, Rahul. Just before the cabinet meeting begins, where all the ministers come in, NSA Ajit Doval is already inside the Lokalyan Marg residence of the Prime Minister. Our top ministers, Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, Nirmala Sitharaman, Dr. Jaishankar, they are all inside 7 LKM. We are given to understand. And the CCS is taking place. The CCS is expected to be a brief meeting in which the Prime Minister gets a physical briefing of what it is transpired in the last few hours. Of course, he's been getting by second the briefing that has been happening to him. NSA Ajit Doval has been briefing him as well. But it is going to be important because, there's a formal CCS which actually has to meet on a situation like this. The Prime Minister, we're given to understand, is getting briefed by the CCS, and after which the cabinet will really begin. And like I've been reporting from the morning, this is going to be a very, very important cabinet, not just from the point of view of the decision that the government is going to take, but also a big encouragement, for the alliance partners essentially, who have, many of them have worked with Prime Minister Modi in the past, but for many it's the first time, especially the young people, it's the first time around that they rub shoulders with the Prime Minister on an occasion like this, watch him close and personal, in a crisis like this, that he's been able to tide over and actually do what the people of the country really wanted him to do as well. So it'll be important if he says anything to them in the cabinet meeting, or he in fact expresses himself, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Rahul is a man of very, very few words and even more few expressions as well. So all eyes on the 7 Lokalyan Marg residents. We are given to understand that currently the CCS is underway, and in the next 10 to 15 minutes you can have the Union Cabinet begin.
Okay, well, India's made a massive point. Arunima, let me bring you in also. India's made a massive point this morning. Not only at 104, when it began striking targets across POJK and, of course, Pakistan proper, but also now in this press conference. Break it down for our viewers who are just connecting to us. What exactly is the thrust and parry, really, of the Indian action? What were we trying to convey through this press conference? It's very important that we get the message across to the public.
Rahul, it was a packed press conference room with a lot of international media present as well. And therefore, the target audience of the PC was not just the domestic constituency, but also the international audience. 2 points that clearly came out of the PC. One, that even the weapons that were used, the missiles that were used, were chosen in a way so that there is no collateral damage. There was no civilian targets that were looked at. There were no military targets that were looked at. And there is enough video evidence, enough photographic evidence to show that the camps that were targeted were Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen camps. For example, the Mehmoon Joya camp, there was slide and there was video that was shown that this was a Hizbul camp 18 kilometers from the international border, and this is where the Pathankot attack conspiracy was hatched. Next came the terrorist camp in Markaz Taiba. This is Murid K. This is where Ajmal Kasab and David Coleman Headley were trained. So it's not as if any random theatre was picked up and strikes carried out. There were reasons to believe that these were camps where Hizbul, Jaish and Lashkar men were getting trained. The Jaish headquarters in Bahawalpur. We have multiple dossiers, multiple intelligence reports to know that this is where Masood Azhar and his terror factory runs. And if you see the videos that were also showed in the press conference, at the time when the target was logged and the strikes undertaken, there is video that shows that this was not a civilian area. this was, well covered, either in a forested area or in an area where there is no hospital nearby, there is no civilian population nearby. So this narrative that Pakistan was trying to push through, that India has killed unarmed civilians, that narrative I think we have exposed after this press conference. What was also said at the end of it is that we have shown restraint, Indian armed forces have shown restraint, but if Pakistan continues with its misadventure, India is ready to respond further.
Yes, this was an act of very reasonable and responsible action by India. This is the message that has gone out, viewers, to the wider international community, as well as, of course, anyone in our country who was waiting for news. So the news is very, very specific. It is that we have, in a non-escalatory manner, avenged a series of terror attacks, all of which were plotted in these various terror camps, terror lairs, in terror haven, Pakistan, as well as, of course, in camps in POK. So Pakistan soil and in POK. I want to quickly go across to Ishan Wani. Ishan Wani, there was a conversation this morning between the Union Home Minister and, of course, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah. There has also been talk about constant shelling across the LOC. There have been casualties. So the front line there, extremely active. Arunima, you're still on camera. So I'll just come out to you for more of that. But Ishan Wani, break this down for us. What's been happening in Srinagar? Airport shut. We're not getting much news out of there.
Well, yes, absolutely. Airport has been shut since it's also a defense airport, and Indian Air Force generally takes their aircraft from the same airfield. So that's why it has been shut, and the Indian Air Force is operating from that particular airfield. Now, talking about the ceasefire violation, they have been thick and fast, particularly towards Poonch, where maximum number of casualties are being reported. 10+ lives have been lost so far. This includes children, this includes women and men who have been bombed, and there are these mortar shells which have landed at the houses and areas of Poonch which are heavily people who live in a very closed community and people who live in a densely populated area have been also shelled. So they are the ones who are facing the brunt. In Kupwara even there's a loss of properties, injuries to civilians. They have been shifted to the hospital, and we saw the pictures coming in from Kupwara where vehicles, houses are in flames and people have been taken out. But remember, now the government has decided that from all these vulnerable areas where the shelling has taken place from Pakistan side, that these civilians will be taken out of the harm's way. They'll be shifted, they'll be relocated. The government will provide them accommodation, food and travel expenses. All of them will be provided by the government. While the Chief Minister has spoken to the Union Home Minister, and both of them have discussed the situation prevailing in Jammu and Kashmir. And mind you, that Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir has also shown support to the move, and he has just said that this is the right way to respond to Pakistan, and this is how, because they started this, so India had to respond in a calibrated manner, and they have done it, and they have not targeted any civilian infrastructure. Only those terror camps have been targeted, and this has been Umar's now standing on this particular matter. Right. While the politics has been kept aside, but politicians in Jammu and Kashmir are right now backing the union government in their decision to strike these camps in POK.
Well, that's of course goes without saying, viewers. This has been a traumatic time for Jammu and Kashmir, and of course when we got the communication from Vikram Misri, one of the things that was specifically pointed out, Pallavi, thank you, Ishan, we'll come back to you in just a little while. But Pallavi, what was actually stressed upon was that this particular provocation from Pakistan was aimed at destabilizing the gains that we have made in Jammu and Kashmir, and also to pit communities against each other. And all of that sort of was trying to be logged back, taken back to Kashmir, which is where we have seen communal tumult in the last 3 decades.
Rahul, I think provocation is the word. I mean, just in the last few days, I think behind the scenes planning, and this is what many would tell us, is that we also have to convince the international world that India is not one which is irresponsible as far as military actions go. We are not a banana republic. We are very much a responsible democracy. And there's been ample reason why we have this confidence and this belief that it's time for India to retaliate. So look at the way the press conference or the press meet actually began. It came out with a PPT presentation talking about the parliament terror attack attacks, 26/11, and there are multiple attacks, and it ended with what happened in Pahalgam also, in which 26 tourists were killed. So basically the narrative which was set up at the beginning of that press statement was that there was enough provocation of India and there was just no way for us but to attack. We cannot remain silent for long. And however, this retaliation was responsible. This retaliation was very much targeted. We have not escalated it. We have not targeted any civilians. We have not targeted anyone who's innocent, unlike what Pakistan has been doing with India. Therefore, that's one big point which I think was highlighted, not just by Mr. Vikram Sikri, but also by the two women officers who were addressing it. The second and the last point which I really want to stress upon is that we are ready for any misadventure. In the context of this, the army chief's tweet where he says that picture abhi baki hai. If Pakistan thinks that, everything is over, we are going to go back. No, we are on guard. We are ready. Right. We do anticipate that Pakistan will have a knee-jerk reaction. They would try to retaliate. They are already doing it along the LOC, but we are absolutely prepared, which is why all kind of leaves being cancelled, all kind of preparations are going on, and 24/7, Rahul, we all are ready. I think these are the two most important takeaway. Absolutely. And finally, the choice of two women officers. I think that's a very, very important narrative which the government really wants to send across in the context of an operation which has been called Operation Sindoor.
Yes, a very important point you made there. And of course, heart goes out to all of those at the LOC today. Arunima, I just want to quickly weave you in, and Payal for just a few seconds. Pallavi will track back with you in just a few moments. But Arunima, the very important emphasis that was made, and you have to sort of talk us through this, emphasis that was made on the proof that has been collected now to firmly indict the Pakistani state and its backing of terror, and of course the terror actors that had carried out the Pahalgam attack. This was very, very crucial, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, because what Pakistan had been accusing India of is that you are unilaterally acting without proper proof, and therefore there should be an internationally monitored investigation, a neutral investigation, almost trying to show that whatever happened in Pahalgam was unfortunate, but it was India's own doing, that they had failed to protect their own civilians. So it was important to counter all of this that Pakistan and Pakistan backers were saying. So here at the press conference, there were specific photographs, specific videos that were put out, and I'm sure in the next few days, and that's what the Foreign Secretary said, that this is an ongoing situation, this is a developing situation, and therefore in the next few days you could see more evidence come out to show that the places that were targeted were terror factories, where terrorists were given initial training, then they were brought back for a refresher course. And Hashim Musa, the main suspect in the Pahalgam attack, he is suspected to have trained as a para-commando in one of these camps. So there's no doubt in the mind of the Indian intelligence agencies, in the mind of the Indian forces, that this was no non-state actor. These were very much state actors who were trained to carry out terror attacks. And even then, India has shown restraint not to carry out attack against a military target in Pakistan.
Okay, Arunima and Pallavi, thank you very much for these updates. Payal, I want to quickly draw you in and then bring in the guests. We have with us a number of guests to break this down for us. But Payal, the Prime Minister, of course, now briefing the cabinet. It's his job now to communicate the successes. And also, of course, there is a packed day ahead, isn't it? There are other meetings that he's going to be part of. And also, of course, the broader communication to other countries' heads of state.
Yes, of course, the Prime Minister is aware of each and every detail, how it really panned out. And, Ajit Doval was briefing Prime Minister by the second, we are given to understand. Even till about an hour ago, Prime Minister was getting the entire series of briefings from various people as well. But the briefing in the CCS will be important because Rajnath Singh, who's been briefed by the CDS, will brief him further. And, of course, there will be Amit Shah also in that briefing. Having said that, how much of that we'll discuss in the cabinet, we do not really know, because the cabinet also will have its own agenda to really follow. But to brief the heads of state, that's going to be Dr. Jaishankar's job. I'm sure he's pretty much on the job as far as that is concerned. How to rope the world in is going to be very important. So far, every time that Pakistan has been attacked by India for the terror module, Pakistan has been asking for proof. But incidentally, and a lot of people are having fun at Pakistan's cost on the internet, saying that the first proof of India's strikes came from Pakistan itself as well. So Pakistan is in no position, Rahul, whatsoever to deny this. It's only some silly politicians from India who actually try to play that game unless their bosses really pull them up. and they had to actually delete those tweets as well. Having said that, the Prime Minister will have a series of important meetings. Today is what we are given to understand as well, because some announcements have been made by the Indian government. Where has that really reached? How far we are going for it? As far as that is concerned, there is a very important meeting on the Indus Water Treaty being put into abeyance also to follow later today or probably later this week. Given the fact that there have to be more details have to go into it as well. So India is very much on the job as far as that is concerned. Of course, it's a worried Pakistan which will actually go crying before the world. India is aware of that as well, and of course India has already set its ball in motion and already spoken to people that it needed to be spoken to. The latest being the Qatar guys coming into India's support, just late last night. It's a big support as far as India is really concerned. And the US in fact coming out and speaking about India's retaliation, saying that they weren't really surprised. Donald Trump says that it happened on the expected lines. So India has never been a country, and Rahul, I must tell our viewers that every time that the Prime Minister has held meetings with his close quarters or with his ministers who are in fact working on various sanctions against Pakistan, the Prime Minister has always had to say this one line: let's see how much is possible. We don't penalize the public at large. It's not their fault.
Right.
They are not terrorists. Each one of them is not terrorists. Let's actually teach a lesson to those people who have to be taught a lesson.
Very calibrated, extremely rational, extremely disciplined, and very careful to stick with the brief. And that has been the Prime Minister's style. Even after the provocation in Pahalgam, viewers, the carnage there, the Prime Minister did not lose his head. A large number of other people said we should do this, we should do that. In fact, he eschewed rhetoric in his first statement in Bihar. He didn't even name Pakistan. He talked about the perpetrators and those that support the perpetrators and how they will be given an unimaginable riposte. And let's just open this up because we have a very distinguished panel to analyze the Indian response. I want to first begin with General Rajendra Singh, former DG, Infantry of the Indian Army. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I just want you to analyze what we have seen. Never before has the Indian military come out on a stage such as this and presented proof in real time to not just Indians, but globally. Sushant Sareen also there with us. And of course, we have with us other experts like Major Jolly. And of course, we have with us Salvatore Babonis, who will give us a 360 on the world view. So, General, please.
Thank you, Rahul. Firstly, I think it is a great day. It is a great day because India has shown that it is not going to tolerate Pakistan continue to sponsor terrorism. And this has been a very measured response. It has been a response which is calculated, non-escalatory, yet conveying the message across that we wanted to convey. It is not only a message to Pakistan, it is also a message to the rest of the world that India is not going to sit quiet and allow any nation to sponsor terrorism and launch strikes within its territory. And I think to that extent, Prime Minister Modi needs to be complimented. And as far as the Indian Armed Forces are concerned, I think Air Force has done a marvelous job. But as former Chief Naravane has said, that abhi to baat baki hai. There is likelihood of certain amount of response from Pakistan, which I am sure we are going to respond or we are going to counter very effectively. As far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan is no patch as far as India is concerned, either economically or militarily. Militarily, it has no chance whatsoever. Its navy is half of that of ours. Its air force is, they have got just about 20 odd squadrons.
Okay, well, there is some real-time information being relayed there. That is from Muridke, and you can see the devastation. There you can see that entire mosque, that entire complex, that terror complex flattened. And that terror complex has played a very central role in the planning of several terror attacks, cross-border attacks on India, viewers. And today, this is what it looks like. This is going to be emblazoned, because I can tell you that when you went to Pakistan, and I haven't personally, but I have spoken to reporters and others who have been there, very proudly, the establishment would talk about Muridke as the school of great learning, and also the residence of the Lashkar-e-Taiba plenipotentiary, as if it was some great haven for some humanitarian. This man, viewers, is one of the greatest sociopaths of the subcontinent. And today, I don't know whether he was there or not. We are getting information that some high-value targets have been taken out. We don't know whether it refers to this or others. But the fact is that that sociopath who was holed up in this place for a long time, training people who were committed to bleeding India through 1,000 cuts, is seeing the devastation. Today, no target is out of India's reach as far as Pakistan is concerned, and those pictures tell that story. I want to quickly bring in Salvatore Babones, American sociologist, who's joining us, because, and Sushant Sareen, very importantly, I need to bring you in because you know Pakistan like the back of your hand. But Salvatore Babones, I just have to ask you this question because it's very important. Most of this presentation was not just for the benefit of Indian viewers and people in our country, but also the international community, because what Pakistan has been doing is building up this narrative that it is a victim and India is the aggressor. Now that seems to have been completely negated by the information that has been put out and the details that are now emerging.
Unfortunately, the global press, or at least the English language press, just isn't covering it. Coverage in major American newspapers has largely taken the Pakistani side, and it has mainly presented this as a renewed conflict between India and Pakistan instead of as the response to a horrific massacre of civilians by almost certainly Pakistan-supported terrorists. The coverage just isn't there. To give an example, the New York Times coverage mentions Narendra Modi. Whenever they mention him, it's Indian strongman Narendra Modi. On the Pakistani side, they either say Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, which has no implication, or they say General Asim Munir, without identifying General Asim Munir as the effective dictator of Pakistan. There's just not the sophistication in the Western press to really be able to tell this story as it should be told.
Well, I'm not surprised in any case, Sushant Sareen. Are we surprised? Let's not talk about the New York Times and other newspapers such as this, but this was sort of aimed more at world capitals also, this particular press conference. But Sushant Sareen, just broadly guide us through the sites that have been attacked, the significance of these hits, the planning that must have gone in. I'll of course talk about munitions and other things with the two other military jets, but what might have actually prompted this sort of laser-like precision on these particular sites?
So Rahul, I think all of these sites have a certain importance, and that importance comes out from the press conference or the statements that were read out by the two armed forces officers, lady officers. They gave details, and it's very easily to discern why these targets were picked. Like Muridke and that Bahawalnagar thing, Bahawalpur thing has been on the in the crosshairs for the longest. Everybody has been talking about it, how these are big terror centers, headquarters of globally designated terror groups which are operating with impunity, right? So everybody, and there has been a lot of clamor that why aren't we targeting these guys? And you come to the other ones, for each one, those were camps that were involved in terror attacks that had happened in India.
Yeah.
So whether it was the one in Riyasi, whether it was the one in the Jammu, attacks in the Jammu region, whether it was the attacks in the Kashmir region, each of those particular camps were identified with a particular group. Two of those were with Lashkar-e-Taiba, two of those with Jaish-e-Mohammed, and then with Hizbul Mujahideen. And these are the three groups which are most active in Kashmir even now. And the Hizbul Mujahideen also is a group which gets its backing from the Pakistani state. It pretends to be an indigenous Kashmiri group, but it's mostly Pakistanis who staff it now. Whatever little support it gets in the valley is more in the nature of logistic support. In the case of the Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Lashkar-e-Taiba, these are out and out Punjabi Muslim groups with some smattering of Sindhis and Pashtuns thrown in, but basically a Punjabi kind of a group. And that also, there is a certain caste angle to it. Within the Lashkar-e-Taiba, at least I can tell you this, and even within the Jaish-e-Mohammed, there's this Panipatiya diaspora which has gone from India during 1947. A lot of these fellows are part of the Jaish-e-Mohammed group. Now, so all of these groups and their bases were in the crosshairs for the longest. The question was of summoning the will to target them with whatever weaponry we have.
Yeah, so I think on that point, what I meant to ask you was not why these specific targets were picked, but the vulnerability that India has now conveyed. That's what I was trying to get at. And the psychological impact on the Punjabi, the ruling class really of Pakistan. Now talk us through that. These particular targets represent something.
Yeah, look, I think what they represent is that basically that there is no part of Pakistan which is not in India's range. And if you are going to be, creating these kind of camps and terror bases, and they are going to be attacking India, we are going to hit you. Now, I think the messaging from India is also very clear. So, for the longest, Rahul, at least for the last 5-6 years, if not even longer, India has virtually turned its back on Pakistan. We said, listen, you guys do whatever the hell you want to do. We want nothing to do with you. We don't want to have anything to do with you. You carry on doing, don't sponsor terrorism in India. Please do whatever the hell you want. Okay. And let us do whatever we want to do. So we have focused on our own development, on our own growth, on our own economy, and our own relations with the rest of the world, regardless of what happens with Pakistan. Okay. The Pakistanis are like leeches. They want to just keep attached to us, and they want to keep dragging us down. And I think the messaging this time has been that, listen, guys, we are again willing to turn our back on you and do our own thing. You do your own thing, but just don't finger us all the time, because if you finger us, we are going to hit you back.
And this is a message that has gone to those who control, viewers, every nook and cranny of Pakistan. So it's very, very important that those touch-me-nots, those people who thought they were above it or under a nuclear umbrella, today are the ones who have got targeted. Now, US Congressman Ro Khanna spoke to CNN International, our, of course, affiliate, about the conflict. And he called, and this is very important because Salvatore Babones was saying how the American press is falling short of its perhaps objective reporting requirements by not calling out Asim Munir for what he is, which is a de facto dictator. And this is exactly what Ro Khanna has called him, a de facto dictator. Listen in, viewers.
Congressman, I mean, you heard Nick's report there. I mean, the idea that people there think this is different than what they've seen, that is incredibly concerning, I imagine, to a lot of people, given we are talking about two countries that both have nuclear weapons.
Well, the most urgent thing is de-escalation. I mean, there was the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. Innocent people were killed. India took a response that helped take out some of the terrorist networks. They claimed they didn't hit military sites. But the important thing now is for de-escalation. I do hope that President Trump has people who understand the region. The only reason I say that is he said they've been fighting for centuries. Just historically, they haven't been around for a century. It was a British colonialism that fomented the partition, that fomented some of the divisions between Hindus and Muslims there. It's important to really understand the region, and we need to be a honest broker for de-escalation. We also have to understand that Asim Munir is a dictator who didn't have legitimate elections, who's put Imran Khan in jail, and there's no honest voice right now in Pakistan because it's a dictatorship, and we should be calling for elections, fair elections, after the de-escalation.
Well, and questions of what that looks like with the White House. Obviously, President Trump has a deep relationship with the Prime Minister Modi, who's already visited the White House this year. What would you like to see the White House do in this situation?
Well, I would like to first make it clear to Asim Munir that that's it. There should be no retaliation on either side. This should be the end of it. We have a lot of leverage with Pakistan. We give IMF loans to Pakistan. They're dependent upon that. We should be saying to Asim Munir that he needs to free Imran Khan, stop the any retaliation, and then have a fair election, because there was a rigged election there. They've jailed Imran Khan, and he's not a voice for the Pakistani people. But he should also make it clear to Prime Minister Modi, in my view, that he should not be cutting off the water. That was part of the Shimla Accords. You can't deprive a population of water.
Okay, let's go quickly across to Siddhant for more on this, commentary on this. Siddhant, this is a clear message from the US congressman who has taken a more skeptical view, actually, of the Modi government. So it's nice to hear him talk very, very interventionistly, if I might add, at this moment in time. Siddharth.
Yeah. Yes, Rahul, there were two opinions to the kind of, reactions coming from the United States. In fact, some think tankers and experts in India, had to say that US should have, done more as far as the statements are concerned. Even some were saying that it is satisfactory, perhaps. US is telling India to defend its territory, etc., etc. So some were satisfied, but some were expecting more from the United States. But the fact, Rahul, is that Trump administration particularly perhaps is not liking Asim Munir, and there is no doubt about it. And in fact, as Mr. O. Khanna rightly pointed out, that last time around when 24th program of IMF was launched for Pakistan, perhaps it was done after USS's intervention, USS's go ahead. So this time around, India could get that bailout delayed, or rather get cancelled, perhaps because India has enough evidence to prove that Pakistan uses the money for the terror attacks in India.
This is as much a test really for the Trump administration. Remember, Trump says he's a no-war president, and if they have leverage over Islamabad, this is when it's going to count. This is when Trump has to walk his talk and say, look, I can get the deal made, etc., etc. And if he has leverage, this is the time to prove it. He has to get Pakistan to back down, to clean up its act and come clean on all of this. And of course, hold the elections that are required, put pressure on the IMF to withhold the loan. That will be a lifeline for Pakistan in this circumstance. But I just, before I bring in our guests once again, I want to go across to Pahalgam, because there we have with us Akash. Pahalgam has been the epicenter, hasn't it, of the trauma. Today there must be a little bit of closure, maybe not closure, but at least a sense of justice. Akash.
A lot of happiness, in fact, among those who are here, as tourists, and I'll try to talk to them as to what is the sentiment, Rahul. Sir, what's your name? आप कहाँ से आए हैं?
मेरा नाम सकीर हुसैन है, केरला से आए हैं. हमने 5 दिन के इधर की श्रीनगर में ही है. अब आज पहलगाम में आए हैं. कल बॉर्डर के वहाँ गए थे.
अच्छा सर, मुझे एक बात बताइए. 22 तारीख को हमने एक टेररिस्ट अटैक देखा इसी एरिया में, यहाँ से थोड़ी दूर पर. आज हमारी आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ने पाकिस्तान के कई जो टेरर कैंप्स थे उनको ध्वस्त किया है. अब किस तरह से देखते हैं, कहीं ना कहीं मन में एक संतुष्टि है कि ये जरूरी था, ये होना चाहिए था?
हमारे भारत की ऐसी जवान आदमियों को लगभग 26 आदमियों को हदायत अवेलेबल है, लेकिन ये उसके जल्दी उसे इंडियन मिलिट्री उसकी ओर आज भी अटैक किया है, उसे पाकिस्तान की ओर लड़ाई कर दी है. अच्छा है, उसी तरह के जो है उसकी ओर बार करना और बदल करना जरूरी की बात है. उसका फोर्स हमारे भारत में अच्छी तरह ही है, उसकी ओर हम जो सपोर्ट है हमारे लिए वो उसी की तरफ की समय सपोर्ट है.
Support to the armed forces. Sir, one last question. If you can tell us, यहाँ बोला जा रहा है कि टूरिस्ट आ नहीं रहे हैं अभी because of fear and ये सब factors हैं. आप लोग कितने लोग हैं और कितने लोग आने थे, कितने लोग आए हैं, क्या ग्रुप में आए हैं?
26 लोग हैं हमारे एक ग्रुप पर. हाँ, इधर आएंगे तो उससे टूरिस्ट बहुत कम ही है. उसका कारण वो लोग ये ऐसा कर रहे हैं. ऐसे अभी सभी लोग हमारे टूरिस्ट साथियों के साथ इधर रहते हैं. इसका मेरा राय है कि भारत की सेना हमारी रक्षा करेगी, इसलिए यहाँ हम आए हैं.
Important point, Rahul, that this This was done to, in fact, disturb the peace and, in fact, the tourism sector, because Kashmir and, in fact, Jammu area, has been seeing, tourists, in fact, record number of tourists yearly in the past few years, and this was done to disturb that sort of, environment where tourists from all across the country.
Yes, imbue a sense of confidence once again in people who want to travel. Of course, things will have to settle. I have with me General Pandey here. Very, very important voice, because he, of course, just till very, very recently retired as the 15 Corps head. So he knows this area. But before I come to you, General Saab, and of course Major Jolly, I just want to quickly go across to Payal. There's some updates coming from that important cabinet meeting that the Prime Minister is helming there. Payal, over to you. Yes.
Well, of course, the cabinet meeting is currently underway. We're given to understand that the Cabinet Committee for Security, which is a smaller group, Rahul, has gotten over, and the main cabinet meeting is taking place. Now, today we had a meeting in the morning and we had a briefing in the morning by the forces, and generally the practices that within a couple of hours of the cabinet getting over, the cabinet briefing really happens. It will be important to see who decides to come for the cabinet briefing and what really the essence of the cabinet briefing really is. That's going to be the big sense to draw out for, but no doubt whatsoever, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, from the day that the attacks really happened, multiple leaders, multiple ministers, including chief ministers, have met him. He did not lose any sight of work. Work would continue, and that's the reason he went to Bihar, because it was a government program. And since then, he's been going to whatever his duties nationally really are. He is of the belief that you don't have to sit down and sulk to prove that you're deeply hurt by what has happened. You have to prove the work, and you have to prove these terrorists and these people like this wrong as well. So obviously, important cabinet briefing underway. I'm sure a lot of cabinet decisions would have been lined up. If you have a briefing, who does a briefing? That remains to be seen. But yes, I say, nonetheless, a very, very important day. And the most important thing will be to see what message the Prime Minister gives to his cabinet colleagues as a takeaway.
Okay, there's some big breaking news that is coming in, viewers. This is very, very significant, and we have General Pandey also here with us. We are being told that a large number of family members of Masood Azhar, that horrible individual who led, in fact, the seminary and the Markaz, the Jaish-e-Mohammed commander, have been eliminated. 10 family members, in fact, of Masood Azhar killed in Operation Sindoor. This, viewers, is extremely, extremely important. I want to go straight across to Anand for more on this. Anand, what can you tell us? This is very big news. Okay, well, remember, viewers, this is the individual that we released. We had to release under duress in 1999 on the back of the IC-814 hijacking. The hijackers had taken a large number of Indians hostage, including foreign nationals. And their single term was that please release 3 terrorists. One of them was Jaish-e-Mohammed's boss. That individual, viewers, who has bled India ever since. Many people call him a Maulana, but he doesn't deserve to be called a Maulana. And therefore, we will only call him Masood Azhar. His family members, 10 of them, have been slain in this operation. Anand, this is very, very big news. This is extremely big. Okay, we have a few problems getting across to Anand. Anand,
yes, Rahul, I just missed the last, part of your question, but this is a big, big development. General Pandey is sitting with you. Bahawalpur has been struck the most out of the 21 package drops which have happened over these 9 targets. The biggest one is Bahawalpur, this 14-acre area, which is actually the hub, the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. From the parliament attacks of 2001 to the recent attacks at Pathankot Air Base, and thereafter even in Pulwama, the involvement of the Jaish cadre has been there. In this one, although it is the TRF that claimed responsibility and it is part of the Lashkar outfit, the Jaish has been active and it was training huge amount of cadre. But we are given to understand that family close to Masood Azhar, those who are part of the rank and file and also part of the operation and training facilities of these jihadis, have been neutralized. At least 10 of them are claimed to have been neutralized in this precision strike at the Jaish-e-Mohammed Markaz at Bahawalpur. And this is a big, big development. that means this is a telling blow to that entire terror hydra that was emanating out of Bahawalpur and which has been a bane for Bharat and which has claimed hundreds of civilian lives and also our brave hearts because of the Jaish training which was being imparted there. That place can house up to 600 cadre, terror training cadre, and that's such a big camp.
What is known as very specific intelligence, actionable intelligence, and we know that the NTRO played a big role in the facilitation of this attack. So just put it in larger context for our viewers.
Well, the aspect is, the most important aspect is that this has been a big bane, a big problem. And if you notice the briefing of the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri along with the Fauji's, the briefing that happened at the NMC, the first thing that was shown was the Parliament attack of 2001.
Yes.
And because the fact is, in the past, Masood Azhar was incarcerated in our jails and he had to be freed. And he was one of the terrorists who was let go, and he along with his brother Rauf have repeatedly hurt us, be it Uri, be it thereafter multiple strikes at our brave hearts, or even in civilian attacks which have happened where we've lost civilian lives. The Jaish has been involved, and I think that was the biggest hub which many Faujis in the past and even present have wondered, why haven't we neutralized this base yet? This is where it's all emanating from, and this time it's been done. And of the 9 targets that have been identified, there were many that were vetted, but with precise location and with absolute precision, they have been now razed to rubble. Bahawalpur, that 14-acre piece, has been razed to rubble, and there are videos that have confirmed the same, even from Pakistan. In fact, the hospital video where the local military commander of the Pakistan army is going to the Bahawalpur hospital, what can be heard in the ambient noise or in the background is that they are cursing India because Jaish has been hurt. Yeah. The Jaish has been hit. So be it Balakot or be it Bahawalpur, the Jaish has been really hit, and this time they've been really impacted because those who are, it was an extended family business, this entire terror machinery of Masood Azhar. And MMA's family has now been neutralized in this.
Yeah, sister and brother-in-law. In fact, viewers, this just tells you how overconfident and absolutely clueless the Pakistani establishment has been. Big talk all these days, but General Pandey, completely clueless. They didn't think that India was going to strike either this deep and with this breadth and with this precision, that they didn't even sort of remove some of these high-value targets.
So actually,
yes, General Pandey.
So actually, I have been there a couple of tenures in the general region, and I used to always wonder that how we can hit Bahawalpur. And I remember all the maps and the entire layout, how they were influencing the local population. But a lot of people start looking at this killing of 10 family members as a big event happening. I will try to explain to you that this entire venture of Jaish-e-Mohammed is a family-run business. Most of the top leadership belong to each other in terms of marriage, in terms of family engagements, stuff like that. And the confidence was there because 100 kilometers in Punjab, in south of Punjab, carrying out such an attack would require manifestation of going on to escalation ladder pretty high if you carry out this operation. And there was also perception that nobody can reach out because army did not have the weapon system to reach that deep itself to carry out some degree of attack in terms of even by drones which were held by us or by direct fire systems or indirect fire systems. I guess this they never expected, and that is why this entire family was residing there, and they are very comfortable with the numbers which are there. The numbers are huge, the campus is very well located, it's more like a cantonment system. Bahawalpur is less known for the cantonment which is existing there, but is more known for the Jaish-e-Mohammed training establishment and radicalization system which exists there. The second point is Jaish-e-Mohammed amongst all the terror groups is the most radical one, right? It is the most consistent, very professional, and their system of selection of people is based on how radical this individual is. Unlike Lashkar-e-Taiba, where it is more financial, more drug-related, more business-oriented. So there is a subtle difference between the two. They come from grassroots Jaish-e-Mohammed. They have a very deep training for carrying out suicide bombing, they carry out training in other parts of the world, and thereafter they carry out application of suicide bombing or the attack which is done. They are much more committed as compared to Lashkar-e-Taiba. I think this hitting of Bahawalpur is a major game changer, not only because it was in Punjab, but it has hit the heart, soul and the very spirit of the terror network. It is going to resonate and cause them some psychological damage for a long time to come.
You think that this is a hit, the series of hits that we have undertaken, and I want to bring in Major Jolly right after on the weaponry that was used and how we could actually make this possible, unlike previous years. So, but I want to ask you, this is very important because obviously we want to restore a certain degree of deterrence that Pakistan seems to have lost sight of, General.
So, you know, for long the leadership of Jaish, Lashkar, even HM felt capable of being protected by the Pakistan establishment. They knew nothing much can happen because even the West, the deep state, even if they want to take them out or challenge them, or the FATF system which wanted to control these activities, nothing much can be done because they were in depth in protection. This targeting has told them, you will have no place to hide. We will come to know, we'll come looking for you. I think that one messaging is very important because leadership very rarely exposes itself. It allows the ground soldiers or ground troops to go out and get died for their cause, and they continue to live the life of luxury and the protection to keep on producing more number of terrorists. This hit is going to be a game changer because this time onwards they are going to be living in fear rather than pushing out fear. Yes, to say that it is going to be a zero terror system here and after, I think we will not be correct to start imagining that till the time the Pakistani establishment strategic orientation changes, which is unlike, you know, because the current generation, Asim Munir had joined military training when Ziaul Haq was in.
That's right.
The change in convergence from a professional military to a religious force started with Ziaul Haq, and the entire leadership which has now come up on top.
His father was actually a loyalist.
Yeah, so that comes a second point. You know, the major issue today will remain for certain degree of change of orientation is to take out Asim Munir from the calculus of the leadership paradigm in Pakistan.
But because that probably can't happen.
It may not happen, but just remember, so your expectation...
I mean, it can happen, but it would be really an escalation, wouldn't it? It would be really up there.
No, I'm not saying by a physical strike or a force, but I'm sure there will be reasonable systems when you're talking about what the Americans want. This point has to come out very clear and steady that this man is radical. He has got an ego which has been driven from being a muazir. He has not been liked much. He has taken the path of studying in madrasa. He has got a radical tinge to his entire this thing. He's purged his own military senior leadership. He has put the most popular leader, so-called popular leader, behind bars, right? Only to assuage his own personal affront which happened when he was taken out from DGSI's appointment in just about 7 to 8 months. You look at the nature, this man has got, he will not hesitate to take his own country to down the hill, right? Just to prove a point that he's a sword of honor, he's a topper of his course. There is something which is wrong in his mind which will take him out, keep on doing things. We have to take this gentleman out of equation through diplomatic means, through international pressure. But as long as he's there, I think the chances of terror strikes will continue to remain.
So you believe that Pakistan, in fact, might choose to hit back in a different way? Not exactly across the LOC. They could even possibly strike again in another vulnerable spot in the Indian mainland. That could also happen. But this time they will know, wouldn't they, General, that the punishment could be even more severe?
So they know punishment will be more severe. They want it. And there are countries around us who want that escalatory ladder to go up. There are other geopolitical, geo-economic reasons which we will possibly avoid today because today is the point of contact. But the fact is...
I know you're talking about China, Turkey, you're talking about...
They will want us to, you know, stall, and their economy is moving towards us. They don't want to happen. So these are part of larger debate. But the fact remains,
that there will be a possibility of a step above the escalation ladder.
Should we go for another strike? Because I've seen
yes.
General Narwane, and General Narwane says picture abhi baki hai. What does he mean by this? It's got 2.1 million views on Twitter.
The fact remains that this was the first lowest escalatory ladder we had stepped up.
Okay.
We have got tools in our kitty, which when they respond and they decide to respond even equitable manner, there are possibilities that we'll go for the second ladder. And look at the government of the day. They are going about the business of the day as a matter of routine. They are not. It's a tactical, operational level stuff happening in which the armed forces have to deal with the situation.
In fact, our stock markets, for example, have shaken off the ripples of this. In fact, the opposite has happened. The Karachi Stock Exchange has pretty much collapsed, and it has been on a collapsing spree. Stay with me. I want to bring in Major Jolly. Major Jolly, now this would not have been possible 5 years ago. We know perhaps we weren't that well equipped, but some things have changed. This is not something that any ordinary military can do.
Yeah, I agree, and that capability, I think, came from the way we acquired Rafales and equipped them with, the top. I'm not an Air Force guy, but whatever we understand, the top missile Rafale carries is Meteor. But for this specific operation, air-to-ground missile that would have gone in, that has gone in, would be Scalp, and the second would be the Hammer ammunition. Right? These two are looking at what has happened, it has got range up to 300 kilometers. Scalp. It can work in night. It can work. So it is one of those missiles that can, in layman language, it can navigate itself also. If because there was a lot of threat of, from our side, air defense system is a threat. So Pakistanis use HQ-9, which is Chinese system. Our missiles need to have the capability to weave through these systems. Yes.
Okay, just very quickly, some more breaking news coming in. The Prime Minister has decided to postpone visit to 3 countries, including Croatia and Norway. Viewers, remember that the Prime Minister did not go. He was supposed to also go to Moscow for the Victory Day celebrations there. He skipped that. Now, skipping 2 others. What does this actually entail? What does this mean? What is the message that is going to go out? Siddhant, we know that perhaps this is just the beginning. We don't know. We're presuming that this is the culmination. It could be the beginning. There might be more things in the pipeline. The Prime Minister sees himself indispensable to his presence here in India right now.
Well, that's right, Rahul. Given the strikes that India conducted today, perhaps requires Prime Minister presence in the country. And in fact, there is repeated threat from Pakistan. In fact, they have threatened India with a nuclear attack as well. So, given that, it looks like that Prime Minister has decided to postpone his visit to Croatia, Netherlands and Norway. Perhaps this visit was pre-planned. In fact, the recce and the preparations were underway at the ministry level and also at the government level from last 2 weeks. And now we're getting to know that that this visit of Prime Minister Modi has been postponed. Perhaps given the strikes conducted by India yesterday and a potential retaliation which could come from Pakistan's side. So the Prime Minister's presence in the country at this given point in time is very, very significant, important. And maybe this is one of the reasons, or perhaps this is the reason that this particular visit from 13th to 17th May has been postponed. And in fact, we have the first confirmation on this particular development.
Any reasons that have been extended to you? Any off-record stuff that you can give some context on?
Well, Rahul, what a lesson learned in deception, perhaps, from last 2 weeks in the national capital, everything was looking very normal at the government level. There was Wave Summit, then there was the launch of a fort, then, mock drills were announced. In fact, Ministry of External Affairs was also very proactive in hosting journalists and, foreign dignitaries. So everything looked very normal for journalists, for foreign dignitaries here in the national capital. Things were going on in a very, very regular manner. So it was kind of a lesson which needs to be learned in deception at this point in time. And in fact,
Right.
at the ministry level, at the government level, all were preparing for Prime Minister's visit. Nobody was talking about retaliation. Only comments were coming from Prime Minister HM and Raksha Mantri. So, Ministry of External Affairs was also silent. Defense Ministry was silent. In fact, now we understand that was a strategic silence which was maintained by the government.
And you said that these visits were supposed to begin from May 13th. That's what you were saying. May 13th to 17th.
Yes, Rahul. This visit was planned from 13th to 17th of May.
Very, very interesting. Viewers, I want to bring in General Pandey as also Major Jolly. General Pandey, look, this is not the end all and the be all. We've already exercised a large number of non-kinetic options. So clearly, India wants to punish and send a message to Pakistan, and the words that you see, those words keep coming back. Unimaginable punishment. Is this unimaginable enough?
No, I don't think so. It's unimaginable enough. There is much more to come. The cancellation of leave of the CAPF, this cancellation of visit, I think they are preparing for what is possible and probable, right? It is also a signaling and messaging to the other side that if you want to increase or up the ante, we are there to back you up and take you on. So that is one facet. But there are other tools in terms of the dime trend, that is diplomatic, informational, and more importantly, I think this whole water business, which is there, which the Prime Minister referred to yesterday when he was conversing, giving his address yesterday evening. It's a very, very important part. Punishing a country through water and punishing the terrorist or even the Pak army through the kinetic force are two distinctive factors. And I think that these preparations are not only on, some of them may be applied, and there will be a very, very holistic thing which will be set in motion the moment some response comes from the Pak establishment. Very interestingly, we are not seeing anywhere Shahbaz Sharif and people for last...
Shahbaz Sharif has put out one boilerplate kind of reaction on Twitter. We haven't heard from him, but yes, the defense minister has put out a rather interesting statement. He says that Pakistan is willing to exercise restraint if India exercises also restraint. So he seems to be, after making all those silly statements, those idiotic statements about we will come at you with nuclear weapons and all that, wo thande pad gaye. Sorry, just to put it in very, very simple terms, Major Jolly, thande pad gaye. They've realized that this is not looking good for them. They've been made to look like fools.
Their options are also, they were surviving on very limited options now. Either you go against everything and walk towards the suicide path.
I think the biggest challenge for them is their economy, the equipment which they have, the serviceability state which they have.
Another big update, PM Modi to go to South Block now shortly. We had seen a large number of people on the lawns there outside of South Block. Arunima, are you there with us? If you can just talk us through this. I know that sometimes it's difficult to overreact on what look like routine meetings, but nothing is routine, is it? Today at least.
Oh, not routine at all. Not routine at all after what we have seen over the last, fortnight or so. I think in my frame, you can already see the Raisina Hills. This is the route that has been sanitized. Prime Minister's office is in South Block, which is behind me. And there seems to be a very strong possibility that once the cabinet meeting is over, once the cabinet committee on security is over, Prime Minister could actually brief the President of India also about what has really happened. President is also, she's not just the first citizen of the country, but she's also the head of our armed forces. So there is a high possibility that Prime Minister could actually brief Rashtrapati Draupadi Murmu on what has happened. We've just been told by our armed forces that between 1:05 to 1:30, about 1:30 last night, about 25 minutes long operations were carried out. But what exactly unfolded there? What is the situation along the international border, along the line of control? Once the CCS has been briefed, the Prime Minister is expected here as well. Once again, to show you, maybe you can see the Raisina Hills behind me already. The route has been completely sanitized. So any moment you could hear the convoy of the Prime Minister and then see his convoy
Okay, well, viewers, a few days back when there was a hive of activity, I think it was Friday last, and Arunima, you bear me out, the Prime Minister came there, many people sort of mocked his arrival there at the PMO at the South Block. Many others said that, look, all this is happening is meetings, meetings, meetings. Well, now we know what those meetings were about. Takes a lot of planning, doesn't it, Major Jolly? You were making a point. Sorry to have cut you off. Yes, go ahead.
That's all right. I was saying that what we are seeing, Pakistan Defence Minister, then, I'm sure it must be a result of a lot of their discussions happening that we are ready to back off if India halts its aggressive stance. It's a very, I think, the best option they have right now.
Best option. More breaking news coming in. We are being told that, and this is, of course, still subject to official confirmation. We'll never get official confirmation. So, Qari Muhammad Iqbal, Lashkar terrorist, religious preacher, also killed in Kotli operation. This is under Kotli Operation Sindoor, of course. Can you give us a little bit of a background on this individual? I'm sure he must have popped up on your radar and your grid and maybe even your crosshairs at some point.
Yeah, so essentially he was not technically a terrorist operation leader. He was the motivator, he was the radicalizer.
Right.
And this whole concept, what happens is the children brought at very young age to Jaish-e-Mohammed or even Lashkar-e-Taiba, the training camps and all, and they are left. And thereafter they have brought very steadily onto a system of preaching, of becoming a radical for carrying out terrorist actions eventually. Those few people who are selected are thereafter taken out. And this gentleman has been a preacher or radicalization.
Okay, let me bring in General Shekatkar also. General Saab, how do you view the press briefing with such visual presentation that we have never seen, establishing just what we have done? How do you assess what we have done? Do you think it's gone far enough? Do you think we need to go further?
I don't think it has gone far enough, but certainly we have demonstrated to our, I'll not say opponent, but to the sponsor of terrorism in India, that is a country known as Pakistan, that if you force us to do something, we will do it. And we will do it in our way, we will do at the place of your choosing, we will take the time which we require, and don't force us to go beyond certain limits. Because if we go beyond limits, you will not know where to run away from, number one. Number two, I must compliment for the press briefing this morning. Look at the way our young lady officers, they explained the whole thing. Wonderful. Precision to the line. And they did not hide anything what has happened. It is on the platter. My next point is, sir, we must compliment our young Air Force pilots who took the aircraft, who located the place, and who fired precision-guided missiles. They are the people. They have never been before, but they want based on the data where they are, and they came back safely. Next point, we have not touched any of the villages there or any military installations in that part. We are homed on basically on the terrorist targets. And somebody was discussing with you just now, we will do it. We will do it in future also. We can't say that we will not hit the terrorist target. My next point is that this morning there was an announcement from Pakistan that they will decide the place and time of the hitting to India. I think now they have taken it back and they say we are going to discuss the whole thing. They can't make up their mind. If they decide to do anything in India, may God bless them, they can help us themselves. I don't think they can do it. I don't think. India is not the India what they think is India today.
Okay, there is obviously
curiosity,
a lot of news that is coming
courage, and collective progress. India's space journey reflects this spirit. From launching a small rocket in 1963 to becoming the first nation to land near the south pole of moon, our journey has been remarkable. Our rockets carry more than payloads. They carry the dreams of 1.4 billion Indians. India's achievements are significant scientific milestones. Beyond that, they are proof that the human spirit can defy gravity. India made history by reaching Mars on its first attempt in 2014. Chandrayaan-1 helped discover water on the moon. Chandrayaan-2 gave us the highest resolution images of the moon. Chandrayaan-3 increased our understanding of the lunar south pole. We built cryogenic engines in a record time. We launched 100 satellites in a single mission. We have launched over 400 satellites for 34 nations on our launch vehicles. This year, we docked 2 satellites in space, a major step forward. Friends, India's space journey is not about racing others. It is about reaching higher together. Together, we share a common goal to explore space for the good of humanity. We launch a satellite for the South Asian nations. Now, the G20 satellite mission announced during our presidency will be a gift to the global South. We continue to march ahead with renewed confidence, pushing the boundaries of scientific exploration. Our first human space flight mission, Gaganyaan, highlights our nation's rising aspirations. In coming weeks, an Indian astronaut will travel to space as part of a joint ISRO-NASA mission to the International Space Stations. By 2035, the Bharatiya Antariksh Station will open new frontiers in research and global cooperation. By 2040, an Indian's footprints will be on the moon. Mars and Venus are also on our radar. Friends, for India, space is about exploration as well as about empowerment. It empowers governance, enhances livelihoods, and inspires generations. From fishermen alerts to Gati Shakti platform, from railway safety to weather forecasting, our satellites look out for the welfare of every Indian. We have opened our space sector to startups, entrepreneurs, and young minds. Today, India has over 250 space startups. They are contributing to cutting-edge advancements in satellite technology, propulsion systems, imaging, and much more. And you know, it is even more inspiring that many of our missions are being led by women scientists. Friends, India's space vision is grounded in the ancient wisdom of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, That is, the world is one family. We strive not just for our own growth, but to enrich global knowledge, address common challenges, and inspire future generations. India stands for dreaming together, building together, and reaching for the stars together. Let us together write a new chapter in space exploration, guided by science and shared dreams for a better tomorrow. I wish you all a very pleasant and productive stay in India. Thank you.
Viewers, why are we not surprised? The Prime Minister is not given to speaking in triumphal terms. He talked about a completely different phase of India's evolution, its journey into the cosmos. Why? Because we are advancing the cause of humanity. By 2014, the Indian footprint will be on the moon, he says. The aspirations that are coursing through our veins are far different from ordinary powers like Pakistan, viewers, that are still stuck in a rut which is revanchist, viewers, which is cloaked by narrow pursuits, by petty pollutes. We also got news coming in. NSA Doval spoke to US, UK, UAE counterparts, shared Pakistan terror dossier with the nations, and of course it was all put out there. But coming back to the Prime Minister, viewers, it's very, very important. And one must emphasize this. If you were looking for the Prime Minister to be sitting there and grandstanding, you're not going to get it from Prime Minister Modi. Even after the Pahalgam strike, he could have easily become emotional. He could have become slightly irrational. He could have become belligerent. He espoused only sanity, rationality, and deliberation, viewers. And he made it very, very clear that India will be seeking justice, not against the Pakistan state. He never even mentioned the word Pakistan, but against those that are blinkered so much today by hatred that they want to see the breakup of our country. And he couched it in civilizational terms. Our Prime Minister is not given to the kind of grandstanding you see in tin pot dictators and generals, viewers, in failing countries that pretend to be democracies. That is not the Prime Minister. But government sources are telling us that NSA Doval spoke to US, UK and UAE counterparts. I want to go straight across to Mr. Dogra also for more on this. I want Mr. Dogra to talk a little bit about the Prime Minister's speech. It's an important intervention that he made, but completely off tangent. No references to this strike, but also in the background, the outreach that we have begun, sir, with international capitals.
Well, you said it in your initial remarks that it was deliberate. Prime Minister's thoughts and Prime Minister's message to a conference of space engineers and scientists that India has much higher, bigger things on its plate than simply confronting Pakistan. We've conveyed the message to Pakistan. If it still does not mend its ways, then there are different forums and different issues that Prime Minister would be naturally thinking about and giving directions on. But most of his time, this was the message that was being conveyed here in his statement. Most of his time is on development of India. And
so
it was
just hold
also
your thoughts.
interesting.
There is a soundbite coming in from the MOSMEA. Let's quickly listen to that.
पूरे देश में इस बात की खुशी है कि हम लोगों ने बदला लिया। जिन लोगों ने निर्दोष हमारे नागरिकों की जानें ली थी, लोगों के मांग के सिंदूर मिटाए थे, उसको मुंह तोड़ जवाब हमारे देश ने दिया। लोग बहुत सी अटकलें लगा रहे थे, हमारी विपक्षी पार्टियां बहुत से आरोप लगा रहे थे, लेकिन आज तथ्य उनके सामने है। ये तो आप इस देश में जब से हम लोगों को इंडिपेंडेंस मिली है, किसका 55 साल तक राज था, उसमें क्या क्या हुआ आप लोग देखिए। मगर सबसे बड़ी दुख की बात यह है कि जब जब इसके पहले भी जब भारत में हमले हुए, चाहे सन 48 में हो, 62 में हो, 65 में, या जब भी हुए हो, भारतीय जनता पार्टी और आरएसएस हमेशा मौजूदा सरकार के साथ खड़ी रही। देश को मजबूत करने की बात की, देश की अखंडता की बात की। अपने संकीर्ण स्वार्थ की राजनीति तो हम लोग कभी नहीं फंसे। लेकिन इसके बाद भी सवाल उठता है कि इंडस रिवर वाटर ट्रीटी जितना हमें प्रतिशत देना चाहिए पानी, हम लोग क्यों देते चले आ रहे हैं? कितने बार आतंकवादी हमले हो चुके हैं, कितने बार कश्मीर अटैक हो चुका है। सवाल ये उठता है कि हमारी सेना को लाहौर से वापस क्यों बुला लिया गया? जब पाकिस्तान ने अटैक किया तो हम लोगों ने मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया था, क्यों वापस बुलाए गए? सवाल उठता है कि इस तरह की नरमी हमारे जो दुश्मन राष्ट्र है क्यों हमेशा दिखाई गई? ये सबूत है कि यहाँ देश का ख्याल नहीं है लोगों को, अपनी अपनी राजनीति कैसे बची रहे उसके अलावा कोई और सोच नहीं है। और किस तरह जो एक विचारधारा है कि हम ही वही लोग हैं जो इस देश पे राज करेंगे, उसका तो जनता जवाब दे ही चुकी।
That was MEA Mr. Kirtiwardhan speaking there, addressing a domestic constituency and some others viewers who have been doubting the intent of the NDA. Of course, that is a slightly more political take, but I want to go straight across to the founder of the India Foundation, Mr. Ram Madhav, one of India's leading public intellectuals, an individual who writes about geostrategy and is also very much at home at writing about India's civilizational roots. Now, Mr. Ram Madhav, this is a very critical day. It's going down in history as perhaps a day when India broke through many, many glass ceilings. One of them is, of course, Pakistan's arrogance, its belief that because it possesses nuclear weapons, it's untouchable. Those notions have been dealt a firm blow and will perhaps, at some level or the other, damage Pakistan's psyche, national psyche. How do you react to what you have seen since 1 in the morning today, sir?
Rahul, we have not succumbed to this nuclear blackmail in 1999 during Kargil, you remember. At that time itself, it already became a nuclear power. But this time, the significance of this attack should not be missed, especially by the Pakistan side, because in the last 10 years, we have gradually increased the costs of such misadventures by Pakistan. You recall, after Uri, we went into POK and destroyed their terror bases. After Pulwama, we crossed international border, went about 10 kilometers inside their territory and destroyed their terror infrastructure. This time, you have seen, we have gone 100 kilometers inside their territory. It's a very important message to Pakistan that when it comes to protecting India's sovereign interests, you call it, or self-respect, you call it, we are ready to go deep inside the heart of Pakistan. They should not miss this message. We are gradually increasing the costs of such proxy war that Pakistan is pursuing. And how far they want to take it now, they have to decide. I mean, our message is clear. Okay, we are not warmongers. That doesn't mean we sit with our hands tied down. We are now inside Pakistan and we are ready to destroy bases right in the heart of Pakistan like Bahawalpur or Muridke. I hope the message goes down well with the Pakistani leadership and they probably stop these misadventures at least now.
Well, Mr. Ram Madhav, do you believe that this will restore deterrence, number one, and number two, that we need to still continue down this path? Do you believe that we need to have sustained pressure on Pakistan? Or do you think that this strike is salutary enough? It will dissuade Pakistan, it will make it renounce its errant ways?
No, not at all. Always remember Bhagavad Gita, Yuddhaya Krutanishcheha, be prepared for war all the time. When you have a neighbor like Pakistan, you should not let your guard down. You should always be prepared. So we will always be ready to tackle, but we are increasingly trying to give a stronger message with each time such things happen. We are giving stronger message this time. In fact, I would say that is a very important qualitative, strategic change that has happened in the last 10 years. We have been facing terror from Pakistan for many, at least a few decades now. But that terror entails certain costs, is what is being conveyed in the last 10 years very strongly, and this is the strongest kind of message that has been delivered to them. But until very big changes happen in Pakistan, you can't expect things to suddenly change, and with this attack they will suddenly become very good boys and all that. No, we should always be prepared for whatever misadventures they might want to undertake in future also.
Now, there have been high-value criticalities in Pakistan, sir. The family of Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar have been killed, and this has now been confirmed by the Pakistani establishment and the Jaish itself. There's a funeral that is going to be taking place at about 5 p.m. today in Pakistan, Pakistan Standard Time. That's what we are being told. How do you respond to this?
Oh yes, so this attack is much more significant in the sense that very important, practically the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed has been destroyed in this attack. Maybe one or two, some rats run away, some remain, some will be dead. I'm sure some important targets, terror targets, have been neutralized. So far, the information is more than 30 of them have been neutralized. Actual numbers will never be known, but definitely, the information that is coming out.
So just bear with me. I just need to get a quick update on this. Anand Narasimhan, my colleague, is on the phone line giving us this quick update. This massive breaking news coming in. Anand.
Thanks, Rahul. And this is confirmation of what CNN News 18 had earlier reported, that Jaish has had some attrition there at Bahawalpur, even as its entire headquarters has been razed to a rubble. Jaish now officially confirming that 10 members of the Maulana Masood Azhar family themselves have been neutralized, total of about 14 killed. Some critical people who are close to Masood Azhar and also part of his operations, the Jaish's operations, are also part of this entire casualty list. There's a funeral scheduled at around 4 p.m. Pakistan time. That's the latest in Bahawalpur. But clearly, Bahawalpur has been hit hard, and the precision strikes have hurt the Jaish right at the fountainhead of this entire terror machinery, Jaish, that's been haunting Bharat and hurting Bharat since about 2000.
And Jaish, of course, is the most militant and most radicalized from what our experts have told us. Anand.
Yes, they are. They are the most radicalized, and they are from the Deobandi, in terms of the Deobandi sect, and they've been far radicalized. In fact, most of the targets that have been neutralized this time around, the bulk of it are Jaish targets, then there are Lashkar targets, and then there are 2 Hizbul Mujahideen targets out of the 9 that have been identified, with a total of about 21 packages being dropped over these 9 locations. And the Jaish's facility is the biggest, and it's in the heart of the south of Punjab in Bahawalpur, just about 5-6 kilometers from the Bahawalpur air base. This is on the outskirts of Bahawalpur, this Markaz-e-Subhan Allah, and this is where the Jaish headquarters was spread over a sprawling 14 acreage, and all of it has been now demolished and totally gone. The residences of Masood Azhar and Rauf Asghar and a lot of the Masood Azhar family members who were integral to the Jaish's operations were all located inside this entire facility, which has now been razed to a rubble. Masood Azhar was seen as early as Jan 2025 in this region, and even end of 2024 he had come and delivered a sermon here for the first time in 2 years. In February 2022 he had been seen there, and then after that nearly towards the end of 2024, in November 2024, he was seen again in this area. So post Balakot and in the run-up to what has happened in Jammu and Kashmir, the Jaish had seen a huge amount of activity, and they were actually training a large amount of cadre who were present both there at Bahawalpur and also at their upper, forward camps and also launch pads, be it in Kotli, be it in Muzaffarabad, or be it in Sialkot. So they were present in these camps there, and they were all being trained by the Jaish. So the Jaish was very integral to Pakistan's proxy war, and to demolish and raze to a rubble its headquarters itself, and to inflict such punishment on the Masood Azhar family itself is a big win for Bharat.
Thanks indeed, Anand. I just want to go back to Mr. Ram Madhav and also bring in the Air Marshal and General, of course, who is here with us in our studios. None of them need any introductions. Mr. Ram Madhav, I wanted to understand now the implications going further. Do you think that Pakistan, A, is going to respond? And number two, how will the global community now react? Because India has been lobbying global capitals. We've already had the Americans intercede with the NSA here in India and, of course, in Pakistan. Does Washington still have leverage over Pakistan, or is Pakistan now so far removed and gone into the China axis of influence that the Chinese stand will determine how it responds?
See, there are people coming from our extended neighborhood to Delhi to tell us how to now de-escalate, etc., etc. I think there is no need for it. India, even in this operation, maintained utmost restraint. It only targeted those bases of terrorists or those proxy war centers of the Pakistan army. We have not even touched any direct army installation in Pakistan. So there is no need for any international, intervention to tell India to maintain restraint, etc. Although I know there are some important people in India. With all due respect to them, they are important people. I respect them. But the other important point, how much leverage US has got today, the current regime, as far as I know, has very few people who have direct personal, contact with the army establishment in Pakistan. I'm only talking about the current leadership. It's a new leadership now. So how much they can use their personal relationship or personal, influence to, after may I tell you in these things, those things matter. If you have that kind of relationship to just pick up the phone and tell the guy on the other side that, yeah, stop. That kind of thing, unfortunately, I think US doesn't have. But nevertheless, US is a big country, big power. They can always use their influence to try and, tell Pakistan to act in a just manner. China, of course, will have deep relationships, contacts. Shahbaz was in Beijing several times in last few months. Army leadership is always there in Beijing. They have very close contact, very close ties. Obviously, China will definitely have a lot of control over Pakistan's actions.
But do you think China has the appetite, and I know I have to leave you now, but the appetite for a prolonged conflict between India and Pakistan, given the fact that it will be seen as the prime backbone of Pakistan and therefore also cop a lot of criticism internationally?
Oh, why not? It suits China very well. Hyphenating India with Pakistan will any day be a best suited strategy for China. We have been trying to get out of that hyphenation. We have grown much bigger today. But to get you entangled with Pakistan in one way or the other will always suit China. And remember, many people say that China has not fought any wars in the last 50 years. After 1979, it's true. In the last 5 decades, they have not fought any direct wars. But they are involved in many such strategic conflicts. They will be there, aiding, abetting, but that in a manner that suits their strategic interests. So we should not think that they don't have any appetite and all. It definitely suits their strategic interest for India to get stuck or get entangled with Pakistan.
Mr. Ram Madhav, thank you very much for taking the time out and speaking with us. We hope to continue to have a dialogue with you over the next few days. Thank you very much. Let's open this up, viewers. We have Air Marshal here with us. We have, of course, General Asthana with us. None of them need introductions. We have Major Jolly with us, all of them, and Colonel Dev also joins the panel. Very quickly, I want to just go across to General Asthana, who's been waiting patiently for now about 20 minutes, General Saab. I want you to put your thinking cap on for about 3 minutes and give us your analysis of the initiatives that India has taken from one in this morning.
See, till now, all the Indian responses were in one dimension of warfare, and that was military dimension, whether it was surgical strike or it was Balakot strike. This time, we have used all elements of national power. And when a comprehensive national power of a country is pitted against a comprehensive national power of another country, we find that in holistic terms, the comprehensive national power of India is much larger than Pakistan. And that is why you would find, whether it was in diplomatic domain, it was in domain of Indus Water Treaty, or starving them of water, or giving a threat of that kind, or it is in economic domain, coupled with the military domain. Now, that makes this kind of strike much more relevant and unprecedented as far as giving a lesson to Pakistan is concerned. Now, let us put it the